Before we start, mate, I'll just say, first of all, everyone knows who you'll be and who you are, but looking at the traps on you, you're going to have to tell us what you've done this year and what's going on.
Well, I've just got off the back of a prep. I won the overall at the PCA UK Open, which, I mean, it sounds cool, but it was technically just a glorified qualifier for next year. But it's not necessarily the achievement of winning that, but I've had a very good year in terms of development. I've added around 10 pounds of muscle since last year. So whether I got on stage or not, I'm just very pleased with the progress that's come about sort of during this off season.
Well, that's definitely been a big thing for me, mate, when I've watched you, because obviously we speak all the time, but you have consistently added muscle every year. And I think even starting out just as a good topic, you were saying the other day, and I believe you on this, 10 pound of muscle a year is, you're lucky to be pulling that off any sort of training regime or cycle or anything like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I put a picture up the other day, and someone, I think it was from my first show to this show, and someone had asked, like, what's the weight difference across the 8 years? And it's 40 pounds, but 20 of those pounds has gone on in the last 2. So it makes you think, what was I ever doing wrong? Like I think I did my first 2 shows, and a year apart, I think I gained about 6 or 7 pounds. And then I had a huge year where I thought I gained like 30 pounds because I shot up and I was competing. I competed that year at something like 214, 215. But then the following years, every year, my weight actually went down. But I looked better. So I must have just been kidding myself, and I just must have been so fat. Or, you don't look it, but then obviously you got visceral fat and things, and my waist came, over the years, my waist shrunk back down. So there may have been like a massive build-up.
Your off seasons are proper, like, there isn't I mean, when I see your off-season shots, there's big machine, And obviously the thing with that is, you do think, 30 pounds of this has got to be muscle.
No, it wasn't even that. I got on stage 30 pounds heavier. But, I mean, and I did all right. I think that was I actually did the Leeds Northeast UK BFF qualifier, and I did come first, but they bumped me down to 3rd because I had, my gyno was just like, my nipples were like really puffy. So I actually rang the judge, one of the judges rang me and said, you were first, but we penalised you. And you're not getting an invite to the British finals because of it. And then I went to the NABBA England, and I think it was a strong year. There was about 16 guys in my class, and I came 5th. So I can't have been that bad. But I think just the following years, I just started to redefine my look.
Yeah.
And it went to the point where I actually took it down in 2018 to like 198 pounds. But, I mean, I was inside out. I'd never been like that.
I think I looked last prep last year.
No, 2 years ago.
I remember the video you were putting in, and I mean, your conditions has always been good, though, hasn't it? I think you always
like the first couple of years it wasn't, and I think I had that period that probably every bodybuilder goes through of chasing weight, chasing scales. Because I think in that 2014 off season, I mean, I think I hit about 265 pounds. That's sort of the same weight I hit last year. Yeah. Obviously, it was a much better 265, but I don't really know. I looked leanish, but like I say, the weight it came down to about 198, but I was inside out. And then last year I was 208 and a half. So I put 10 on, and this year I was 218.
Best look, easy.
Yeah, and a lot of comments from people were that have added this roundness that maybe, and I honestly do think that is down to the sort of change in training.
This is what this is all about, and I'm excited to, because some of the stuff you said to me, I don't know if we've came from similar backgrounds on ethos of training, but I know I've always been of the nature of, the stronger I get in every single rep range, the bigger I will be. And obviously, like I said to you last week, just so everyone knows, like I said about the Jay Cutler thing, like you're looking at videos of pros, and these pros are doing weights that aren't that far away for similar reps, but they are 10 times the muscularity I have. And that is what made me question the whole thing. Because it's just, what are they doing? Why are they doing things different? And obviously volume and some of these intensity techniques, what you mentioned, it sounds like, I don't know, what's your back? So have you always, when's this come about, this volume, this new take on training?
Like I say, when I started, it was just typical bro split, like you're 19, 20 years old, you're just doing either what you see in the magazines or what the people around you are doing. So, I mean, I started taking this seriously sort of 2012 when I started competing. I was at university before that, so I trained every day still, but obviously the food side was non-existent.
Yeah.
So I was in the gym just doing your average probably 5-day split, and that's how I started. And then I competed in 2012, training like that, and then I continued, and then I did get into a weird phase around sort of 2013. I don't know if you know, like, the strength and conditioning coach, Joe DeFranco.
Yeah, I know Joe DeFranco. I've got his book, Strength, actually, and his DVD.
Yeah, well, I became a massive fan of Joe DeFranco, and I just started training with that sort of adaptive West Side conjugate style, almost powerlifting type of thing. Like the first exercise of every workout was like a 3-rep max, and then I was doing sort of bits and bobs like that. And I was getting very, very strong.
Yeah.
And a little bit of muscle came with it. And then it was sort of 2013, I started working with John Peters.
Yeah.
And then it was, I think I continued training. I went back to sort of like a normal bodybuilder split up until that show. And then when we went to do our first off season together, that was when he sort of introduced me to the DC style.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I spent probably 5 years being probably the biggest advocate ever of just get strong.
Yeah.
Certain lifts, like literally just progress strength almost at all costs. Logbooking, literally everything. So when I talk now, it's not hypocritical, because I admit that, look, I used to do that. And that's the background I came from. But along the way, I always look at things that maybe overanalyze, but I'm always very critical of things. And I'll look at things with a critical eye and say, where can this be improved? Or and then there'll be a lot of questions that I'll ask myself about the training. And over the years, like, your body just gets absolutely beat up. And it's something obviously I noticed about literally every single person that does that training style. They're all absolutely fucked.
Yeah, I think so. To clear up this training style, and so this is your old training style, and I'm on here saying the same thing. I've been a believer in a similar strategy. I mean, it was literally just for me, and I still have some elements, but it was, okay, I need to be as strong as I can with perfect form on every big lift there is, and that is my path to being a better, bigger bodybuilder. And obviously you sound similar, because I've followed you a while, mate, and I know you were around that JP era, and that is what we were doing. But yeah, the big drawback immediately is the injury side of things. Like, you are lifting with weights, and this is what I said to you yesterday. It's like, you can't, how far do you have to go? Once you've done a 220 squat for 8 reps, where are you going each week? Like, your body's getting destroyed. There's got to be smarter ways, right?
That's right. I think the body can keep getting stronger forever. But I think it's the way people, I say people and me.
Yeah, and me.
Just like, right, yeah, that's 10. I'm banging 10 more kilos on that next week. And it's like, well, that's just fucking ridiculous. There's no way in a week your body got 10 kilos stronger, but we do it. And then you do it, and the set was probably shit compared to last week. But you went, oh yeah, 10 again. Oh, I got to go up.
I'm bigger. Yeah.
And and the way the weight sort of seemed to climb, then you can't go on like that forever.
Yeah.
But I do think I still believe that progressive overload is absolute king. It has to underpin and facilitate every single training method. But I don't think progressive overload is actually something you control. I think it just occurs as a natural byproduct of pushing your body to the limits in the session. It will manifest itself in some way. Like, if you're going to train with a logbook, you have to standardize your reps for it to actually be effective. But I know that sometimes I'll be midway through a set, and for a couple of reps, I'll really just slow a rep down. You get that freedom, like during a training session or during a set, that you can do stuff without thinking, oh, this is going to impact on the number I'm going to write down on this bit of paper in a minute. So I think even if you did that and then still hit 10, like, well, I actually did a really slow rep in the middle there. It's still progressive overload, but you're not forcing it. I think it just happens.
Yeah, I think like we said the other day, and this is something you said, progressive overload is probably made up of about 4 components. You know, you have the strength side, you have the almost kind of tensile side, so it's the control side. You can progress a negative. You have the rest side, you know, and these are the things now I'm looking at. Like we said, strength is a very important, and obviously we all know it's important, but there is elements to being a better, stronger person that are often overlooked in pursuit of just pure strength. And obviously that is what you're looking at that now, right? So you want to go through how you're progressing now and why you think it's different, then I want to hear it.
Yeah, just before I start, I think you're right that there is only a few sort of branches, but I think that even branches out even more because there's so many different circumstances that can occur in a training session. Like, even if you're say you've got your logbook and you're walking up to somebody and you're about to do an exercise and you jump on it and you've had maybe even if you've just had 2 seconds less rest than the week before and you perform the set exactly the same, that's still progressive overload. Yeah, it's minimal. It's 0.001%, but it's progressive overload. So even the circumstances around training, like the order of your exercising and everything, there's so many different ways out of those 4 main components that it can branch off. But yeah, in terms of my training, it was it sound nerdy now. I was reading a study. I can't actually remember who did the study, but it was basically talking about volume training, things like that, but it actually broke volume down into, like, not all volumes equal. And basically, you've got fluff training everyone talks about, and you've got effective reps, which are the reps that obviously stimulate muscle growth. And they've done some studies or some experiments or whatever, and they sort of worked out that your last, say, 5 reps from failure were your effective reps. And I guess maybe every rep probably gets a little bit more effective, but so I just sort of took the rule that, right, the last 5 reps before you fail, they're the ones where you're going to grow. And I think whether you do a 5 rep max and just have 5 effective reps, or whether you would do a 20 rep max, those last 5 are still your effective reps. So you've still hit 5 effective reps in that set. So I think if you're doing a 5 rep max, there's going to be sort of more load on the bar, which there's that danger element. We all know that sort of longevity is key to a bodybuilder these days. Best bodybuilder in the world can't be the best bodybuilder in the world if he snaps his pec.
Well, yeah. I mean, I said this to the day. I was like, people are forgetting quite a lot these days that Mr. Olympia last year was 41. And they're forgetting that a lot of the top 10 are 35 plus. So there's a lot of 20 to 30-year-olds around there that are just kind of thinking that they need to prime now. And like we said earlier, muscle growth, you can only have so much a year. So really, with these kind of strategies, you're not thinking of longevity if you are just basically trying to nail your body. You've got 15 years left of a career if you're 25. So there's no real way. And if you're in the mindset of, I've got to get stronger, I've got to get stronger, it's going to compound. In 5 years' time, your volume's going to be triple. And you're going to be burying yourself.
Well, I remember I was thinking about, I was probably 25 years old, just being a young, arrogant dick on Facebook. And I think I was like pushing this training, like, yeah, well, you got to do this, you got to get stronger, you got to get stronger. And it was James Llewellyn who said, like, it's all right, you're 25 years old, you like come back in 5 years' time. And I did message him, like, you were right.
Did you?
Like, it gets to a point where the body just can't take it anymore. I've been, people say, oh, you should be afraid of your leg sessions. I agree with that. You should be like, oh, this is going to be fucking old. But at no point should you ever be about to perform rep 1 of your set thinking, don't break.
This could be the end.
That's mean that if the thoughts in your head as you're going down, like, I think my tendons might just fucking like pop off it. Like my kneecap going, that's not, I don't think that's the fear that you should have.
That's not a fear training, is it?
And I had that literally like week in, week out, just going down thinking, oh my fucking God, like this is so
this.
And I was just petrified that something was going to snap because it was just that heavy. And I had like, you had to have like fucking Quanlun oil on, get your wraps, or not wraps, but get your sleeves on, trying to stay warm. And I haven't had a knee sleeve on in 2 years now.
I see you say something about that, which is interesting.
Yeah, just
well, if you are leveraging a movement, because knee sleeves, if you are leveraging a movement with basically an accessory like a knee sleeve, you're almost forcing this progressive overload mindset, like stronger. But actually, it's just the fact that knee sleeves give you a bit of spring.
And then people go, then people end up progressively overloading their sleeves, like single fly, double fly, triple fly, powerlifting knee wrap. Like, yeah, well, it's just, you might as well have someone behind you just lifting you up.
Yeah, at that stage. So the big thing you said about James Llewellyn, and it's interesting because he's a pro and he looks great. Yeah. And this is something we spoke about and I'm desperate to talk about with people. And this is my big one. Like, you do get a lot of these people that have a certain training style. And then you would say, well, what about the pros? And they say, fuck the pros. You know, they've got the genetic monsters. They do anything, they'll grow. Which I'm in two minds about that opinion because I wouldn't do this sport if I felt like the only people who are good at it just can't be asked being good at it and they do it by accidents. Do you know what I mean? So, like, why do we think the pros train like they do, Matt? And why do we think amateurs seem to train more complex than pros? What's happening there?
I think a lot of people see these really complex training styles and they sort of believe that they're almost leveling the playing field. You know, well, that guy just gets by on being a caveman, but it's his genetics. Well, I've got to really think outside the box and use every scientific variable possible to even try to bridge that gap. But like I sort of made a post, but I don't think science is really evolving.
Yes.
The practice of bodybuilding. Yeah, the supplements have got better. Like things have got better. Like on the sort of periphery of bodybuilding. But the actual training, the act of lifting something up and putting it back down, it's pretty much been the same. Like we know why, whether we did or didn't know why muscle builds, we can't do anything about it. Like that's just our human physiology. We can't alter that. Obviously, we can take some drugs and stuff like that, but everyone's taking drugs. Yeah. So that playing field will never get level because people will have a certain individual genetic response to that. The pros, whether the drugs or not, the pros would always be the pros. But I don't think they're just going, oh, this is all right. Like, well, I'm getting by doing this. I know there's a better way, but I don't need to.
Mate, it can't be, can it? It can't. I trained with Phil Heath one-on-one, and I was following the progressive overload movements at the time. I trained with Phil Heath one-on-one, and I was like, I want to watch this fucker. I want to know what he's doing and why. And I just remember the only piece of decent advice he gave me was, and I think he said it a few times, he's like, I just treat training muscle like the way a tennis player hits a tennis ball. I've got to get it in that sweet spot. And I just thought, at the time, I was like, what kind of fucking advice is that, Phil? But then the more I think about it, the more I'm like, he obviously knows what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, I've been there and I've watched his DVDs. Like he still trains hard. Like he still takes his training to failure. But it's this whole no drama thing. People think you're not training hard, or you're not really trying or putting the effort in, unless you're sort of tearing down the gym and screaming it, because that's what we see on Instagram these days. There's no. You watch a Phil Heath DVD. I mean, you even watch a Ronnie Coleman DVD. That guy's chanting around the gym. He's not bothered until he's literally like, he's away with the fairies until his set time, and then he goes.
Yeah.
And then he's out, and then he's out again. His mindset's just switched back off.
Yeah.
Like, he can lock into that set, but it's nothing crazy. It's still, even when he does 5 plate bent over ropes, that's amazing. But all he does is 1 plate aside, 10 reps. 2 plates aside, 10 reps. 3 plates aside, 10 reps. 4 plates aside, 10 reps. 5 plates aside, I think he fails at like 9 or 10. It's just basic pyramid training that we learned at GCSE PE. Like,
I don't think we've evolved. People can say whatever they want to me, but I mean, physique-wise, on the stage, yes, we have crazier bodybuilders, but I think on an average, physiques haven't come much further than the 90s, in my opinion. So to me, we've been stuck in like almost stuck in time. And a lot of these training techniques are floating around and no one's got a solid answer. You know, you can try and give one, but
I think the problem is now it's so popular that you've got this massive pool of people all trying to do this sport that a large chunk of them have got no business being near.
Yeah.
So they almost pull the average down.
Yeah.
Like, in terms of the quality of bodybuilders, because they don't even know how to put effort in the gym. But just going back, before I forget, just going back to the whole pros amateurs thing.
Yeah. That's a good question, man. I'm interested in that one.
Yeah. The argument that people put forward about, they don't need to, it's not really valid. It only counts for one person, and that's Mr. Olympia. Like, he could be the only person that says, well, this gets me by.
Exactly.
But second place just came second, and he now needs to beat first place. So in his head, he'd be like, hold on, there's some shit amateurs in England doing this new training that's amazing. I'll try that because I want to be number one. But he doesn't, because he knows, and the top 10 Olympians, and they're all still training how they used to in the 90s. But they all want to be number one. They're not just saying, this will do for me. Like, every single day, they put their body through absolute hell.
This is it. It's how they
if they knew there was a secret that amateurs are doing, they'd do it.
We'd see it more. Exactly. This is I agree with you, mate. There's no argument to say, the pros can't be asked doing our special training because they're pros. No, mate. You know, the difference between third and second is 50 grand prize money and 100 grand a year sponsorship deal. And this guy's killing himself, probably spending that to get to that stage. Of course, you do your technique. So obviously, and this is what really flipped the switch in my head. I was like, I've followed all this, I've listened, and I just can't believe I'm in a sport where I'm ignoring the best people on the fucking planet and just disregarding that they even exist and thinking, whatever they do is bullshit.
What walk of life, any other endeavor in the world, do you not pay attention? Like, top CEOs, right? How did he get there?
Yeah.
Like, businessmen, what did he do there? Like, you look at the top guys for a blueprint. But in bodybuilding, no, they just look at dumbbells and grow. Don't worry about them. Right?
We've got, it's almost as if, like, imagine amateur footy players had their own Premier League and that was more popular than the fucking Premier League, because the Premier League, they're all talented. It's weird. So this question for you, mate. So obviously, with that being said, so we've got some actionable information. What are you taking from the 90s or even the noughts, whatever? What are you trying to keep alive in your training now that you think people like, let's say me, a year ago, are missing out on?
I'd say the few things that I've sort of changed. I do a lot more volume. I say a lot more. Yeah, I do a lot more volume, and I've scrapped the whole like low rep, and descending rep warm up technique. Where I'll do warm up set 1, 10 reps, and then you do like 4 reps, then a single, then a single, then a single, until you get to your work weight. Now I'll do a warm-up set of 20, then I'll do 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps until I get to my first work set. I keep the rest down low, so if there's like, I'll train in a maximum of 3. I think that's what you can get away with, and that'll literally be on everyone just literally switching. So your rest periods are sort of 60 to 90 seconds.
Yeah.
And I think it's this whole point of actually embracing fatigue and realizing that fatigue isn't weakness, which is, I think, a big factor at the minute. People are so terrified that they think fatigue is weakness, like that they're taking so much rest between sets and exercises probably because they've got a number, they've got they're walking in the gym knowing, right, I've got to hit this number. Oh, well, I best have 5 minutes rest and replenish as much energy as possible so I can do it, because that's what I did last week. And then every week you're so worried, oh, fucking hell, that was so hard, I can't just take another 30 seconds. And before you know it, you're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 minutes between sets. Whereas I've actually started to say, right, no, fuck it, get back in. Like, it means I just don't have to put as much weight on. But so I'll in my training, I'll do three working sets. The first work set, I just say it needs to be around a 12 rep max. So the aim is pretty much my 12 rep max. But I take it to the point, I call it my last good rep. Basically, if I was squatting, coming up, thinking, if I go down again, I'm not coming back up. So I call it at the top. So it is pretty much failure because there isn't another rep in there.
Someone's got to pick you up, in my opinion. That's not failure, that's beyond. That is, you've not just failed, you are now being pushed past. So your last good rep,
and then I'll do a second set, and I literally add 2.5% of weight. Like, if you failed at 12, there's no way that you're going to ever be stronger in that next set. Like, you're tired. So I'll put 2.5% weight. So if just 100 kilos, I'll put 1.25 either side. And then I go again until my last good rep. And with the extra weight, it'll probably see me 8 or 9 reps. And then I do exactly the same for the third set. But this set, there's a chance that I'll push beyond failure. So I might get one force rep. And then if you want, this is the set where you can add intensity techniques.
So what are you looking for in them first 3 sets? So you've got your first set at 100 kilo back squat. Obviously, that's not what you do whatsoever, but theoretically, you've got your first set at 12. You've achieved, let's say, your 1 rep before failure. So you've got a good set out there. Your next set, what are you looking for? Are you tracking these lifts? Are you writing them down? Is there any?
No, it's literally. Obviously, I know what I can pretty much do on most things, but I try and go in almost with a clear mind, and I'll start with just feeder sets, and I'll literally set a 10 right. I'll plan the next set from the first set. I see too many people with logbooks writing down, right, these are the numbers I want to hit, and then they work backwards. Right, I want to do 150 kilos, so I'm going to do this warm up, this warm up, this warm up. Like, you don't know how you're going to feel. So I literally go in, do the first few, 10 reps, right, yeah, cool. Do another 10, cool. And then when I think, right, the next one is going to be my first work set, and I just call it that. And then if I get 11 reps, 12 reps, 13 reps, it doesn't matter, as long as it's that last good rep. And then the second set, 2.5% away, and I literally take it again. It doesn't matter what I get. Like, depend if I'm training in a 2, I'll probably get a bit quicker. So I'll be a little bit more fatigued. So I might only get 7.
But I understand your process because I was at the opposite end of the spectrum, and I get what you're saying. And for anyone who doesn't, the problem is, and what Matt's kind of found a solution to, is if you're doing training and let's say you have a logbook and I'm doing incline 140 kilos for 8 reps, I'll get 8. And then my next set, I could not get 8 unless I take 6, 7, 8 minutes rest. Fact. So I will have to rest that long to get 8 again. And then I'll have to rest that long, maybe longer, to get 8 again. So obviously you figured out, man, like you said, your first set, you know for a fact with your rest periods, you can't do that again. You couldn't be stronger than that first set because now you've done it. So you're now finding a way to just keep intensity coming while not obviously just sitting around the gym and not stressing your body out, you know?
Yeah, and I think, like I said, I try and work in a 12 to 6 rep range. So like the first set wants to be around 12, and then if the last set, my third set, ends up around 6 reps, I'm happy with that. And then it goes back to sort of that effective rep system where, so if I'm going to do 3 sets, and the minimum I do 6 reps, out of that exercise, I'm getting 15 effective reps.
Yeah.
Which, if you take somebody who just builds up in singles, they've had nothing, then they do 1 out all, then they do like, I don't know, a 3 rep max. They've had 3, it's taken them 30 minutes, and they've had 3 effective reps.
That's a good point.
Where I've just had 50 effective reps in the space of 10, 15 minutes.
But you really value, and this is something, again, from what I'm taking this on board, I think this is a lot to this. You really value, it's not even, you can't even really put it into words. It's a feeling, isn't it? An effective rep is, technically speaking, a feeling. It's something that you feel where you're at a particular point at a specific rep range where it's close to failure. And that weight can be anywhere, really. Like you said, do you know what I mean? Like, you can drop set, like that's as long as you're close to failure, you're feeling that destruction, you're in an effective rep.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like the science behind it, like, again, I'm not super nerdy, so I might get some things wrong, and someone might call me out. I'm like an idiot, but
okay. This is what you say in bodybuilding. If you ever get in trouble in bodybuilding, if you're big, you go, look at the fucking size of me.
But we know, like, the main driver of hypertrophy is mechanical tension. And I think when people hear that, they just think, oh, more weight. They think, right, I've got to put more load on this to increase the mechanical tension. But mechanical tension is not actually the load on the muscle itself and like the tendons and everything. It's actually within the muscle fibers. So when mechanical tension is at its highest, it's like called the force velocity relationship. So basically, to get mechanical tension at its highest, you need maximum or high levels of effort and force from the muscle and slow contraction. And that's when mechanical tension is at its greatest within individual muscle fibers. So that occurs near failure, because your last rep at near failure is, no matter how hard you try, it's a slow rep.
Of course.
So obviously your reps are going to start slowing down towards the end of the set. So that's why they're sort of deemed the effective reps, because mechanical tension is building.
Makes sense.
But that occurs, it doesn't matter what the external load is.
Yeah.
It's just that point of, shit, I'm slowing down here, but I'm really fucking trying. Whether that's 10 kilos on the bar, you do a 4-set drop set, say with side lateral, you've probably got 2 kilo dumbbells in your hand, but they're not going anywhere. The mechanical tension is as high as if you took 10 minutes rest and did some 40K side laterals.
Yeah.
So the load, I think people just get a little bit confused. And then when you add fatigue into the equation, mechanical tension goes even higher. So why are people trying to avoid it? So high force under fatigue hits the muscle fibers which have the best growth response. So that's where we want to be tapping into. So you want to be getting back under the bar when it still hurts. It doesn't matter, oh, but it's going to cost me a rep. It doesn't matter. It's going to make you bigger. And I think, I don't know whether the word's ego, but I think people are just maybe confused that there has to be more load on the bar.
Get a Patrick Tour style training, and there's been many variations of this. And to be honest, some people do it by accident. But even Tom Platt, like, if you look at, okay, someone squats 200 kilo for 10, that's very impressive. You're very strong, great form. But then if you take that very same man, put 100 kilo on the bar and said, okay, you're squatting for 4 minutes, what's the hardest set? And what do we truly believe is going to build more muscle? You know, like, you're going to be absolutely smashed to pieces off that first initial set.
Yeah, but again, I think, like, obviously with what I sort of believe, I don't think it really matters Like, to be able to squat for 4 minutes straight, you're obviously going to have to start with a light weight. And then when that bar slows down, so whether you did 100 reps or 10 reps, technically the last maybe 5 are the ones that build muscle. So those 95 preceding sets might be a waste of time in terms of mechanical tension. But then you've got to look at other things like the amount of blood you've just put in there and the metabolic process.
Yeah, that's a good point.
It's another factor of hypertrophy, like that much lactic acid and just everything being pushed into that muscle will also bring about muscle growth. The pump counts. Like, people think, oh, ignore the pump. Like, yeah, it might not count for a massive amount, but if you can train and stimulate mechanical tension to the fullest whilst getting a pump, so moving fast and everything else, surely that's a more effective training session.
This is it, mate. I avoided pump training I avoided pumps for a long time because in my mind, again, this is very one-dimensional from me, and it's exactly why I'm happy speaking to you, because I know from someone speaking from experience, there is limitations to pure focus on strength. I didn't focus on pump because I was like, it's just an ego thing. I'm just trying to pump my chest up. It doesn't actually yield any good results. But then you start looking at, like you said, people that are keeping the rest periods relatively low. They want metabolites coursing through that muscle group. They feel like they're training because, if science counts for something, experience definitely does too. And we all know, like you just said, you get such a tougher training session when you are doing these force reps or keeping the rest low. It's harder. It just is. I find strength training pretty easy. Like, I find reps under 6 minutes, doing 8 reps, losing me pump. I'm great with that. But if you take me and then drop set me and take me down, I'll be whinging because I'm ripped to bits. You know what I mean? And that is, there's got to be something in that.
And I think with that as well, I put a little challenge on Instagram this week about it. Like, people just not doing continuous reps during a set. Like, blood can't leave a contracted muscle. So if you just keep going, the blood don't go anywhere. So it almost replicates like an occlusion training type feel.
Very interesting point.
But you see, we've all seen Widowmakers. Like, the actual definition of a Widowmaker is take your 12 rep max and do 20 reps with it. That's like, well, that don't make fucking sense. How? But it's right. Do 12, and then lock out. Take a big breather. Well, then you're gonna I just got 2 more. Breathe again. Get 2 more. But people are now doing 10 rep Widowmakers with a 2 rep max. Like, they're not doing sets of 10 anymore. They're doing 10 sets of 1. Like, yeah. I see all the time, like, people think, oh, that's a lot of weight on that. And it's not with the hack squat, obviously, or any leg variation, because you can lock out. It's a bit harder with some other movements. So you see it more with leg training, because people lock out, relax the quads, then they get another rep. But I've watched people and I'm like, you ain't got 1 more in there. But then they pause for 5 seconds, drop down and bang another out. Then they pause for 8 seconds, drop down and bang another out. And I think if you just went back down straight away, you've failed. So surely that's too heavy.
That's not truly a 10 rep max, is it? But
no, people aren't doing straight sets anymore. They've got that many pauses in between their reps that I just think, if you'd have actually just gone back, 1, this means that you've got too much weight on the machine.
Yeah.
And 2, your set was over ages ago. You're just sort of prolonging it. And I just think that's why people are needing deload sessions every 4 weeks, because their central nervous system is absolutely smashed to bits because they're doing reps that don't need to be done. They're just sort of, quick rest, let the blood out, right, go again. Like, a little bit of recovery, go again. And the central nervous system is like, what the fuck are you doing to me?
They're trying to change the system. Like, you can't.
I think that's why everyone's just smashed to bits and everyone's fucked. Whereas, even though I take my last one to failure, or maybe beyond, because I haven't manipulated my sessions so that the loads are so high. I train 6 days a week straight now, 1 rest day, and I feel fucking ace. I don't feel like I need a day off. And when did the guys in the 90s used to prep all the way through to Olympia, like, I'll just train until I'm tired, then I'll have a day off and go again.
because your intensity techniques obviously allow you to use less weight than perhaps your body's capable of fresh, but it has the same effective training effect, doesn't it, basically?
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about it the other day, like, you take Jay Cutler. We know Jay Cutler's strong as fuck.
Yeah.
Like, he just is. But he'll do a 3-plate bench press and have 60 seconds rest, do a 3-plate bench press, 60 seconds rest,
yeah.
And then he'll fail at maybe 8 reps and he'll rack it. And it's like, Jay Cutler's only benching 3 plates a side.
Exactly.
Now, being able to do 3 plates a side for like 28 reps with 60 seconds rest in between is fucking impressive. If he wanted, he could put 5 plates in it.
Yeah.
But he's found a way to build muscle as effectively without the risk of 220 kilos going through his shoulders and tendons and ligaments.
This is exactly why this has come so high on my priority list, mate. Because I message you, I watch old school Jay Cutler, and I see the guy, he's like, I didn't squat 180 for 10 years. He's like, I won 2 Olympias, and I never touched more than 180 kilo back squats. And obviously I'm like, what the fuck? And then I see the guy inclining 3 plates for 8 reps, 7 reps, then 5 reps. And I'm like, I'm messaging you, and I'm like, I can incline the same as Jay Cutler, but his chest's 20 times better. What the fuck's going on? And then you say he's resting for 45 to 60 seconds. I'm resting for 5 to 8 minutes. And then that hit me, and I thought, if that's the difference, I'm no longer too interested in my particular strength in a rep range. I'm now very curious as to how quick I can recover between sets of a relatively heavy weight at a short resting interval, because that seems to be just as important now.
Yeah, and I don't even necessarily think it's being able to recover. I think once you've sort of got your breath back, get back in. You almost want to start the set with that muscle fatigue, so you can bring about failure quicker and hit those effective reps quicker. And then, because that's where the building's done. It don't matter whether, what's the point in waiting another 3 minutes just so you can put an extra plate on, like just to get the same result. Right. And it's not a bash. Obviously, it's going to sound like a big attack on that type of training. But like I say, I've been there and I've done it, and I've hammered it home to everyone. And then I started looking around and like, right, what's everyone got in common that does this? Right, everyone's fucked. Everyone deloads every 6 weeks. Everyone's got an injury every 6 weeks. Right? They all talk about high frequency training, like, oh, well, if I do 5 sessions, I'm going to get an extra for 10 sessions in a year than you. But then, well, no, because you're injured for most of them. So now we're doing the same sessions. And then I see kids, obviously, in my gym, on Instagram, everywhere. And not being horrible, but they don't have any muscle. Like, they're not, you wouldn't look at them like you're a bodybuilder.
Yeah.
They take their top off, you might say they go to the gym. But all of them are yelling 240 kilos, 6 plates aside on a Cybex hack squat, 5 plates aside on a hammer strength incline. All weights I'm nowhere near. And I'm not being horrible, but it's by their own definition of their training technique that to get bigger, you must get stronger. The question I ask them is, how much weight are you going to have on that machine until you look like a bodybuilder? Like, you're going to have to do 10 plates a side.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Like, it's just sort of like a rhetorical question to them. Like, if they truly believe in the methods that they're using, that to get bigger, they're going to have to use more weight. There's not going to be enough weight in the gym for them, like, to actually look like a bodybuilder. So, I don't know. Sometimes I just want to say, just try this. Yeah. Or, like, they're just warming up. Like, I'll do a single rep, conserve every last ounce of energy to do this set. It's like, that's what powerlifters do.
And like we said, powerlifters, no disrespect to a lot of them, but if you look at a lot of weight to body weight ratio powerlifters, people who are strong as fuck, obviously in lower rep ranges, they're never particularly well muscled. Gymnasts look better, and gymnasts are full of volume. So the question does beg, strength does help, but obviously there's limitations that I think, I mean, this whole methodology around progressive overload in the sense of how it's been done today has only been around, I'd say 10, 12 years, if that, and done on such a large scale. So you are right in saying that maybe in 4 years, we might start seeing all these injuries and all these bodybuilders pulling out because they're just broken, because no one's really applied it for 10, 15, 20 years to the level some people are applying it today.
Yeah, I think obviously it was probably Dante when he first came out with the DC training where we first started to see this. But even people are just borrowing the bits that they want.
Yes.
Like, he had a standardized tempo for every rep. I don't see anyone that does DC training. No one does a 4-second negative.
No.
It's just bam, right, yeah, done 10, next. Right, I'll do more next week. Like, if you actually did that perfect tempo, your strength would not increase in the same way. It wouldn't jump up. And again, we know that it's not the muscle necessarily. Strength is down to so many things. That ignoring genetic difference, that is, if we're just looking at one individual, how many times have you gone to do dumbbell bench press and you haven't done dumbbell bench press in 3 months and you're all over the shop? It feels so foreign. Like, fucking hell. But then you come the next week and the efficiency of movement is just so much better. Like, it becomes a learned practice. Like, your motor skills are just improved. So you do an extra 10 kilos on each dumbbell, but you ain't got stronger. You just got more efficient at firing their patterns. Like, and there's so many. How many times have we seen like mothers like drag weight like cars with babies? Like, they didn't get massive, but it was an adrenaline rush and something freak happened and they got this crazy strength. So it doesn't mean you're going to be bigger. Like, something's happening in the gym, like, oh, I got so wound up that I did it, I smashed the shit out of it. It don't mean fuck all.
Yeah.
Like, people always say, oh, like a bigger muscle is a stronger muscle. And I believe that. So get a bigger muscle and you will get a stronger muscle. Why are we, I wrote a post about it, that strength should be a side effect of hypertrophy.
Not the other way around.
But so many people are chasing strength to get hypertrophy as the side effect. It's like, it's the tail wagging the dog. They're chasing the wrong thing.
Yeah.
If they just focused on purely muscle building, the strength will just come because you actually have more muscle fiber there, more contractile tissue that instantly means you will be stronger. But people just don't seem to, I don't know.
I mean, I'm just figuring out myself, maybe, and I've thought this before, I've said to a few clients, maybe it's just sexy to train like that, and that's just what it is. People just enjoy it. Like, some people truly don't maybe care that much about the actual muscle building process, and they're just enjoying these crazy complexities that
I think it's just it's almost like a culture, isn't it? Like, or a cult, sorry. Like, you have certain groups and people just want to be like them. People want to be in the cool gang. A lot of people don't like to sort of go against the grain, and the people they look up to, I want to know what he's doing. And then it's sort of the top guys, even though I personally don't like that training method anymore, the top guys still sort of do it right.
Well, I was about to say that very thing. I mean, Jordan Peters, I'll name him for an example. You can listen to him consistently for years, and he has very specific variables that he will not let be tainted by anything. Ego, a sudden adrenaline rush to do more. He will be he has 1 pound plates he takes to gyms to do the things he wants to do. Whereas, like you said, a lot of these guys are looking at 10 kilo increases every 2 weeks. It's physically impossible. So you are right. I agree.
Yeah, I think as it just filters down, it gets diluted, and people start picking this, and then they see their mate on Instagram who's been, I need to do that, and then like, we have certain lifts that become cool. Every 3 or 4 months, a new lift comes round. Everyone wants to do an RDL, and everyone wants to do a snatch grip RDL. Then the Smith bent over row's cool. Then this lift's cool, and then everybody wants, I'm going to put numbers up, then I've got to tag someone so I can validate myself and be cool. And that's sort of what it is again. There's that social media. Again, without social media, no one would probably know about these training methods. And everyone would still be in the gym doing their 3 sets of 10.
Yeah.
But like, and it just got passed down from the meatheads to the meatheads to the meatheads.
Because I mean, like you said, mate, I'm very much of that thinking. I mean, like you said, back in the day when I was 17, 18, the biggest guy in the gym, it couldn't matter what you tell me about him. If he was a drug addict or he was fucking nuts or doesn't know what he's doing. I want to know what that guy's doing because he's the biggest guy in the gym. Simple as that. And that is pretty much where all bodybuilding information came from until now. And it's got a new evolution of kind of...
But that should still be the thing. You should still want to know what the biggest guys do.
You should. This is the undisputable fact.
Now we're listening to 10-stone fucking idiots on Instagram that don't even look like they've been in the gym.
You can't... Yeah. No one can knock you for saying that. No one can knock you.
That guy's got a massive following. I'm doing what he's doing. Like, he don't even look like he trains. Yeah. Like, have you seen what Philly does? Now you're pro. Ignore him. Like,
this is true. Like,
we'll do what the biggest guy does.
No one can disagree with you on saying that. Like, I've said it before and I feel bad, but I'm like, am I feeling bad? Like, is a footballer going to listen to some kid who can't do 2 keep-ups? They're not. Is a golfer going to listen to someone that swings the club and can't hit the ball? They're not. It doesn't matter what they say they know. The fact of the matter is, at the very basic kind of fundamental, they haven't got any muscle. So, you know, that's the truth.
People say, oh no, but it doesn't matter because it's knowledge. It's not. Like, knowledge plus mileage. That's what you need. That applicated, like, someone that can prove that they've applied their knowledge will always be the person that you sort of want to listen to. You don't know, like, anyone can regurgitate information and just sort of like, I mean, I think I posted it years ago. I got a bit of stick from it, and it's something like, oh, the skinny guys want to see the studies. The big guys are just getting to the bar and working out for themselves. Yeah. And that's the thing, like, you sort of, when you went to train, you just sort of went to the gym and looked around, right, what's he doing, right? And you get into the groove and you pick bits up and you look at different people, see, like, I don't like that, so I'm not having that. You just borrow the bits you want, and I think that's sort of what training is. Like, discard it if you don't like it, and steal it if you like it. Yeah, but I still look around and see if, like, oh, what's that movement? Like, oh, I'll try that.
Yeah.
Like, and I don't know, but now it's like, oh, no, you can't do that. Like, what?
You can't.
Why not? It's not in the rules. It's not in the rules.
Yeah. You can't do 4 more sets today. You know what that's going to do to you. So, man, a big thing is, let's say, there's people listening now, because I know there's going to be a lot that are younger, older, it doesn't matter, but they might be stuck in the way of training. They might think, I'm trying to get stronger, or I'm actually getting stronger. I'm putting 10 kilo on my weights every 6 weeks, but I'm not getting bigger. What is something that you'd want to say, or what is a good bit of advice for them to take away and go, okay, I'm going to apply this, or I'm going to think about this now. What can we take away?
Well, it's not actually mine. It was Milos Sarcev, and I don't know whether I read it or watched the video. It was years and years ago, and he said that back in the day when he was with his training partner, they used to have competitions on, like, the bench press.
Yeah.
And they put a certain weight on the bar, and the competition was who could fail the quickest without super slow reps, like just sort of doing your normal tempo. Who fails the quickest? Do everything in your power to fail quick in the fewest amount of reps possible. And that changed a lot of my training, because you can get on the bar, and everyone will have done it, mainly with their warm-up sets. And literally from the bottom of the movement, the first thing, you don't push the bar, you tense your chest. And the whole way, you're tensing your chest. But then as the weight goes up and it gets heavier, you stop that. You lose the contraction. Now, I could put a weight on and say, I could bang 15 reps out with it, like, without thinking. But give me the same weight and massive amounts of sort of concentration, I could probably fail in 8. And having that much control over a muscle, I think teaches you how to train. Like that power of contraction is unbelievable. And then once you can sort of get in tune with that, your weights are going to come down massively. Don't even worry about, even if, I don't care if the weights never go for months. It doesn't mean anything. Don't be afraid to just use the same weight week in, week out. But every week, just literally try and fail quick. The same when you're doing a squat, the bottom of the hack squat, don't be thinking about shit, stand up. Squeeze your quads, almost like it's the bottom of a leg extension, and contract hard. And then just keep that contraction going all the way through. The weight will come down. Don't worry about strength. I guarantee you will, and it's a lot of people say mind-muscle connection, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
And I honestly think that's a really, really good way of resetting everything and relearning how you actually train. Because, again, let's go back to pros versus amateurs. I could show you 2 videos of a pro doing a bicep curl and an amateur doing a bicep curl, and they look identical. But I guarantee what's going on inside that pro's muscle is totally different to the amateur. If people talk about Branch Warren, oh, he's training shit, he will be contracted literally every inch and second. It looks sloppy as fuck, but he will just be firing those muscles. And that's why he's big, as opposed to people that sort of just perform movements, as opposed to contractions. So I think that's one way to try and sort of reteach yourself how you should train. I guess like Ben Buckles came with the whole intention thing, and that's maybe what it is. But just literally initiate every movement with the target muscle, which I think people are forgetting. And especially when the weight gets too heavy, you can't. A powerlifter could never do it.
Yeah.
Like when a powerlifter steps up to do his 1 rep max, he's not contracting anything. He's fucking moving because you just can't do it.
Mate, this is the thing I got trapped in. I'm probably trapped in a little bit now. You're totally right. You come into your big lifts, the ones that you have to progress, and it's almost as if the only fucking lift you have to progress is the only one where you're not even considering muscular contraction, tempo, control. You are just taking it down slow, explode out as fast as you can. There's no real thought to what's going on, what's engaging. And I always said, and I've always been a believer in this, if you could be the size of Jay Cutler and do a 100-kilo barbell bench, that is the best case scenario. Using heavy weights, although it's cool and looks cool, it's actually not the best case scenario. You know, you're wearing your joints down. You need to warm up for longer. There's higher risk of just random injury. There's obviously big recovery problems. Like, there's a lot. I'd rather be bigger on less. And I always said, it's not what you bench, it's what you look like you bench. And that is the different now. Like, I'm starting to think, you know.
Yeah, 100%. I think, what have we got? Oh, sorry, my alarm's going on. Oh, shit.
This is still recording. This is all still good.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I think, I mean, I have it a lot of times, like on my client check-ins, I ask how strength is, but I sort of like no major decrease, like hasn't fallen away. And every week they're like, yeah, lifts are shooting up, mate. And that's a red flag to me. Now, it is, and I think, why? What do you mean? I'm putting more weight on every week, and I'm like, oh, I've kind of done a big write-up in your training. Yeah, I've done a big write-up in your training plan. Like, don't worry about that. Like, it's one of the reasons I actually ask clients to rotate lifts every week, so they don't get into that sort of habit of sort of trying to match lifts. Because one of the biggest things now in bodybuilding is PBs. Right? Everyone goes on about PB, and they're not really PBs. Like, they're almost like circumstantial PBs, or if you're going to be an athlete, like seasonal bests. They're not your PB. Like, Usain Bolt doesn't have 9 PBs. Like, oh well, there was a headwind there, so that's my headwind PB. You've got one. It's how quick I ran 100 meters.
Like off-season PB, cut PB. Is that what you mean? Like,
yeah. So I mean, like now it's like, well, oh, weights are back up. This is a PB this year. Well, what do you mean this year? It's a PB or it's not. Or if you did squats first, but now you do squats third, or this is a PB for doing squats third, because things change, and everything's going to have. And also, if PBs are so important, then surely everyone will go home after the first exercise, because every other exercises have a knock-on effect from the first one. So
yeah, that's the issue I have with it, mate. It's the biggest issue I have with the training style.
It's like I'm not gonna be able to lift as much on my second exercise because that first exercise made me tired. So it won't actually be a PB. So I'll go home. And the last exercise is definitely not going to be a PB. So no point in doing it. So it's not contradictory. I think I'm a logical person. When you look at things logically, it sort of doesn't make sense that you have to lift more than you've ever lifted to grow bigger than you are.
Well, yeah, I'd probably say on this, I would probably believe that a year ago. But then as soon as you realise that is one variable. And to be honest, it's possibly the variable that has the biggest level of diminishing returns. So strength is great. If you're a new lifter, get strong with perfect form for sure. But the diminishing returns come in quite quick. Once you start hitting 180 squats, 140 rows, 140 benches, you're now in a territory where you can't go much further because you're at beast mode territory, and the risk of injury is just pep. If your pec's gone, you're done. And like you said, with rest, why aren't people tracking PBs on rest? Why aren't people tracking PBs on, like Dorian? Dorian was big into negative contractions. Why aren't people using negatives to draw more out of reps or, tempo? I think that's been lost.
Yeah, since you mentioned Dorian, and the whole logbooking thing, I believe a logbook should be used how Dorian used it, which was a training journal. He would record what he did when he got home. It didn't have an effect on the training session. But people these days write their logbook out before they start. And it's almost a predictor, or this is what I've got to do today. Yeah. And it's the training with a gun to your head, but not in a good way. Not, I've got to get it, or you I think logbooks are good as a journal to spot patterns over time. If you can, I just go out and write it down and that's it. And then, I look back at my journal 6 months apart. Oh, look, I'm loads stronger. I'm not trying to get stronger. Yeah. But it's occurred. Or it should just be there to see patterns, not force something.
Well, look, is your only medium of judging a session, like you just said. It's very easy. I mean, let's be honest. If I judge every single one of my sessions by my lifts, I'd have a shit session 90% of the time of the year, because I ain't making big leaps and strides in my training every single week. You would have, like you said, you'll be forcing progress because you'll be trying to beat the logbook, and that isn't necessarily inherent muscle growth, because, like you said, it's not that easy. It's not that clear.
And I can't remember the last time I had a bad session. I know when I walk out that gym, I've done the job. It's just, you just know. I've literally taken every step as I should to the fucking limit. I smashed myself in. We're done. I don't have to be but I didn't get that. Sometimes I pick something up and I think, fuck me, that's heavy today. But I just crack on and go and fail. And whatever I get, I know that I've taken the body to a point where it's stimulating growth, and I'm happy with it.
Well, if it can't give you any more, it can't give you any more. Do you know what I mean?
Even if there was a logbook there, and it's well, you had to get 12, pal. Well, I'm sorry, 9's all I've got. And nothing's going to get me 12. It doesn't matter. The only thing I've been there. I've known, shit, you've got to get 11 reps, and I've been at 4 reps, thinking, I'm not getting 11. So you get a little bit faster, and you and then you shout for the 4th rep, and you're like, can I have that one? Yeah, I'll have that one. 11. And it's good session. It wasn't. You just manipulated it.
It's very easy to manipulate, mate, isn't it? And I think that's what a lot of people, hack squats, leg presses, even just the legs as a body part, your body has so much power in elasticity, and it's something I'm looking into. In a squat, the last portion of the whole, the elastic power you've got is unreal. if you fell into that hole, you'd probably bounce halfway back up. And
that's what I mean. And now I pause there and contract out, and it's just like I think the one lift is deadlifts. If you reset every rep, if you reset, it's the one lift that you just can't cheat because you've got to go from the floor up.
Yeah,
and it's every other lift can be like, and even then you can take a couple of deep breaths in between. Like that could be the difference between getting it and not getting it.
It's very easy to just cheat or fuck it up. And like you said, and this is no disrespect, there's some guys using it that are getting incredible results, but they take it, I think, how it's built to be taken. But most people really are just looking at numbers and trying to beat them, irrespective of whether the conditions are the same, and they just can't be every time.
I also think when you speak to them, they say no, form standardized. Form is standardized across the board, and they'll say it till they're blue in the face, and then they'll get 8 weeks in and say, deload week, I'm resetting my lifts. What do you mean you're resetting your lifts? Oh, well, I'm dropping the weight back down and tidying the form up. Well, you just told me for 8 weeks that your form was absolutely fucking perfect. Like, I don't reset lifts now. Like, what's resetting a lift? You're either that strong or you're not.
Yeah,
I'm
not. Well, so what, resetting lifts, what do you do? So you're basically saying my form's perfect, but it's been a bit shit, so I'm going to drop the weight to make sure my form's all right to do that again.
But my form has been perfect. Like, well, what's wrong with me? I don't understand. Like, if you're having to reset your lifts every so often to tidy form up, then that's just you admitting that you've manipulated form to progress the weight. And generally, like, over 8 weeks, they'll put 20 kilos on a lift, then reset it down by 17.5. They've only actually got 2.5 kilos stronger.
When, like you said, if they just put less on and done it right in the first place.
And that's probably the same as me. I probably only get that much stronger across 8 weeks.
Yeah.
But I just literally use the same weight. But every set, at some point, their form must have got that shit. Like, we've always seen it, like, I've been there myself. I've done it in reset lifts.
Because I've been there, man.
And the best session you have is the one that's free. And it's the reset session. Because there's no logbook. It's a free session. And you get the best contraction and the best movement. And then you get held prisoner to a fucking book. And it just goes shit again. So you next deload.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, reset the lift. Oh, that felt really good, that. Yeah. And then 8 weeks down the line, you can't even feel the muscles working. But you're dead strong, apparently.
Yeah, this is it, mate. And this is the big curious question for me. And then the whole question probably comes under the title. It's like, what is actually building muscle here? Like, what? Because I know people that are strong. I know people that track every fucking lift. No offense to them, I won't name them, but they got no muscle. And then I know people that, pros are a good example, but I know good amateurs that just go in there, blitz it a bit, and they tell you that. They go, listen, I just walk in, try and kill myself, walk out, and they're growing. And there is more to that because I've been there. And as I'm getting bigger and stronger, or at least stronger, I am wondering why I'm not getting so big anymore. And then I'm also wondering why I'm in the gym for 2 fucking hours to do a chest session. Because if I don't, the logbook fails. And again, I'm being held prisoner. I only tracked my first lift because I was like, I can't track everything. Because in the end, mate, you'd be in there for hours.
Yeah, that's me. Like I think we said it the other day as well. Like, obviously, your first and last lifts. Like if you took your first exercise that you track and put it at the end of the session,
yeah.
Like, what do you think the difference would be in terms of weightlifting? Like, I know for me, like my muscles fucking die across a session. So, but the muscle building effect would still be the same, surely.
Well, this is what I want everyone to listen to and everyone to fucking think about and even do this. Take your chest session, do flies first, dip second, and then try your bench at the end. And it will be twice as hard with half the weight. Is that not as effective? This is it.
I think that sort of is proof enough. And if they say, no, I don't think it would be, then, well, what are you... So all the sessions all the exercises towards the end of the session is shit. Don't do them then.
So you train exercise?
Yeah. So we'll all rush. that's what I mean. Like, the way they run it and the rules sort of contradict the way it's actually carried out.
Yeah, I mean, I look at the evolution of bodybuilding, and you'll find a pioneer every now and then. You know, you had Arnold who come in with this mad volume, going like a nutter. Lee Haney then changed it up, got even bigger, destroying people like Mike Christian. And then you're like, what's Lee Haney doing? And then he goes, well, I figured out I'm strong as a motherfucker, so I put all my big lifts at the end because I didn't want to I was risking injury, and they're now hard again. I'm happy. And I thought, that's revolutionary, because it makes sense.
Yeah, people say, well, Charles Glass, he's a fucking idiot. Like, oh, he's just buff work. Like, you watch all the videos like Flex Wheeler and Cormier and all that training with, like, yeah, he did some crazy shit and invented some stupid angles that probably never need to be invented. But the actual execution of the training was like, you're in, go, 10 reps, you're in. And it was literally just fuck the muscle. You watch videos of LeBron training, Ronnie Coleman training. That goal was, there was no strength goals. It was smash the target muscle to bits, leave, recover. Right? And that's all they ever used to do. That's how we were sort of brought up. Like, if you ask a child that's got sort of some form of education, like, how does a muscle get bigger? It's like, well, you have to apply a stimulus that makes it think, oh shit, I've got to grow. Obviously, muscles that are cognitive power, that's sort of like, oh shit, I can't do this. I need to get bigger so I can do this.
It makes a lot more sense if you were to put, like you said, a school child and explain this to them. It makes a lot more sense that the reps that hurt and the reps that create pain and the reps that have you like almost like, fuck, I'm stuck, that would do more than me going on incline, doing 8 reps, putting it back and sitting down for another load of rest because I want loads of volume and no pump, nothing. It will make sense that the difficult sets are going to incur more stress for sure. The stress side of it, I think, is not used whatsoever. People, like you said, people are scared of stress now. They don't want to stress out because if they do that, the logbook gets destroyed. You know, the logbook can't be met anymore. The reps can't be touched. They're going to fail. You know, their whole existence isn't going to be worth it anymore because the logbook can't be touched. And I think that is a vital point.
I was like, this is like total nonsense and bullshit. But like, imagine if our muscles had like a battery charge, and to grow, you had to deplete the battery. So you do a set and it comes down half, but then as you recover, it comes back up. Like, what would you do? Well, would you wait 10 minutes till it gets back to the top just to bring it back down half again and get back down? Or would you go, shit, I gotta get in again? And then you pull it down to a quarter and then it starts coming back up, like, fucking hell, I best get in again. And then it's down to there and go, right, that's muscle growth. Like, it's absolutely fucking cuckoo and bullshit. But
no, mate, I think you need these analogies.
But in terms of that stress, if you just keep letting it fucking recover, then you're just almost fighting a losing battle, and you're just going to be there forever. Yeah. Like, I know these guys still take these all-out sets to failure, so they're having their effective reps.
Yeah.
But I'm seeing like 4 rep maxes on a leg press. Will it build muscle? Yes. Is it sensible? Like, no. It's fucking not. It's a leg press. Like, I even think a 4 rep squat's silly if you're a bodybuilder. But people do it.
Wait, no chance. Yeah.
Like, I think 6 minimum.
Yeah.
Between like 12 and 6, that's nice. Every now and again, a bit over. Right. But for the most part, my training's between 12 and 6. And I think that's sort of, I don't know, just people do like silly stuff.
I mean, the analogy you just give about the battery, mate, I have an analogy in my head, and it comes up every now and then, but 4 years ago, I was watching a Lane Norton podcast, and it was very interesting, and it was basically saying, so you take all these people doing all these various splits, take us all those amateurs, and, you know, someone kidnaps your partner or your mother or your dad, and they have a gun to the head, and they said, listen, you got 30 fucking days to put an inch on your arms, or I'm going to fucking kill him. What are you going to do? That is what I always say, and I'm like, I tell you what I'd fucking do. I'd be doing 50 fucking sets. I'd be training arms every other day. So why, when it comes to muscle building, do we completely just disregard that? Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think anyone would tell me any different. You wouldn't be doing back off sets if, you know, your mum's going to die if you don't get your arms any bigger. You wouldn't be chancing it. You'd be hitting it big, mate. And we just don't think about it.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's true. People have lost sight of, I don't know whether it's just so overcomplicated now that people just struggle to make the link between 2 points. It's almost like they're seeing past the simple stuff. And it's, oh, that must be too easy. Like, no, there's got to be a more complex way, or, oh, well, I might overtrain. Like, I mean, I read crazy. Like, I mean, I think it was colours. No such thing as overtraining, just undereating and undersleeping. And it's like, oh, I think it's them Barbarian brothers. Like, they used to fucking train like twice a day, every day, forever, and just eat a shitload of food.
I said to Andy, mate, sorry to interrupt you, I said, people talk about overtraining, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but people are forgetting. I mean, look at the slave trade. People were on ships, on no food, no sleep, rowing ships across the fucking Atlantic. And if they didn't do that, they would die. And they did it, and they recovered, and they got bigger, and they got stronger. And I think people, I said, yes, we can do our CNS and stuff, but overtraining is probably a big fucking reach. You do well to overtrain.
Yeah, I actually think I think it's a thing, but I think actually getting there would be a fucking accomplishment in itself.
Yeah, I think so.
You have guys in prison that just eat like, what, a fucking tin of tuna a day, and they've got unbelievable physiques, no drugs, no anything. Like, well, he's got no fucking food, right? And he's just in the yard doing chin-ups and press-ups all day. Like, yeah, how is he building this ridiculous physique? Oh, because he's just fucking training, he's breaking the muscle down. It will grow back, right? And I think our body kind of, like, I'm a big believer in that there's not actually, like, a calorie deficit doesn't actually exist until you've got no body fat. Right? Our body fat makes up the deficit. You're never in a deficit as such. So there's always fuel there to grow, right? Unless you've got no body fat, recovery is going to happen. And we've got energy stores. So we can just keep fucking going for a long time until there's literally nothing on us. Like, our body will take what it needs. We're pretty clever.
Yeah, that's exactly it, mate. The people aren't giving the body any credit. Like, we're a survival-based organism. We just don't want to die. So when you put yourself in a position, even defying science and sleep and recovery and nutrients and vitamins, it doesn't want to die. It finds a way to keep going and beat that situation, especially if it's frequently occurring. And I think that's what's making so much sense to me. I'm like, why have I ignored all these intensity techniques for so long? Here's an example. I looked at a session by Patrick Tuor yesterday, a leg session. I looked at it and I fucking had to look away because I thought, if I do that session, I'll be fucking dead. I said, I'll be dead because it was.
That's the fear. That's leg day fear. That's real leg day fear.
Yeah. I think that's it, mate. I think people aren't scared of overtraining or the CNS, and I think people do all this training because it's a bit easy. I think it is a bit easy. I enjoy strength training. I don't even sweat. I just do my sets, hit me numbers, and then I'm like, well, I can't be any less muscular than I was because my numbers are the same, so I'm happy. I'll go home. But then I look at these sessions where people are like, and this is what the pros do, and again, I've ignored them a little bit, but these guys are killing themselves in there. It's like they're doing cardio. They're doing, these Patrick Tuor sessions, mate. Look what he did with James Holland's head. I'm like, holy shit. Like, he's doing 2 working sets on hack squat. So he's doing 2 work sets, 12 to 15 reps. So he's doing the strength-based stuff, but then it's 2 sets of just disgusting shit that is just destroying your tissue. That's putting it in positions you wouldn't want to be in, and holds and really just stressful things. And I've just not touched any of that. And it makes more sense that would cause enough stress to create stimulus than just repeating more reps with a little bit more volume would.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know if I borrowed it. I read something, and I think it was my interpretation of something that Patrick did, and I borrowed it for my training. And it's increasing training density. Whereas, say if your normal session lasts an hour and 20 minutes, he wants to add more volume to that session, but he doesn't want it to take any longer.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're doing, I mean, you might get, it's going to be an extra few seconds or whatever. But so, say my chest day is 4 sets, and it's three work sets for 4 exercises, so 12 work sets.
Yeah.
Basically, like, when I get to the last exercise, I will turn that 3rd work set into a drop set. So I'm pinning on extra effective reps. Like, I'm going to failure 3 times when I was just going to 1. But it's probably taken 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, the extra training density in the same period is massive. Like, and then if you stagnate, what I do is I take the drop set and go from the 4th exercise and move to the 3rd exercise. Then on the 4th exercise, I might switch to the 3rd set as a rest pause. And then 3, 4, 5 weeks down the line for go again, I slide them all down and I might put like a step set in there. So by the end of this training plan, like, first exercise is a straight set, but the last exerise of the 2nd set's a drop set. The last exercise of the 3rd exercise is a rest pause. And but it's only taking probably an extra 2 or 3 minutes. But the extra volume and workload and effective reps I put into that has increased the training density of that session, like, exponentially.
Yeah.
As opposed to, and I think that's where you're adding volume, but it's not like if you wait another 2 or 3 minutes and put an extra step on. Whereas I think you can cram lots of intensity in. And I think obviously James being with Patrick and not making Patrick more popular, but maybe more popular to us in the UK.
Yeah.
I think it's opened our eyes a little bit. The problem is people still think James trains heavy because he's strong as fuck. Like,
yeah, exactly.
James is just, the problem is they look at him and he's like, well, he's fucking doing 7 plates a side squats. Like, he could probably do more. But, you know what I mean? Like, he's just one of those people that he's a fucking freak.
Yeah.
Like, some people are born strong. Like, genetics dictates whether you're going to be a world's strongest man. You can't train to be a world's strongest man. Like, some people are just fucking strong. Like, James's tendons must be made of iron. Like, he's a freak. But I think even like Luke and James, they started coming away from that single set balls out to 10 reps, 10 reps, 10 reps. And I do think it gives a different look. Like, people always say it's white man versus black man type thing in terms of the look. But I actually think, like, and that's only because they're only using Dorian. We only have one white man, and it's Dorian. Obviously Jay as well. But Dorian Yates was massive, and he was grainy, and he was thick, but he wasn't round.
He wasn't round, mate. That's the thing, yeah.
You take a bodybuilder in the 90s, they look like fucking clowns. And I don't think it's a black man genetics thing. I think it's a training style thing.
Yeah.
Guys that do very lowish volume, and I think it's because they probably only lay down pure muscle fiber. Whereas guys that train with a higher volume, there's like a lot of sarcoplasmic growth in there.
That's a word I was going to ask you about, because there's 3 types of muscle fibers, right? And sarcoplasmic is going to be the one that's increasing the amount of fiber types, right? It's not increasing the size and thickness of fibers. That's hypertrophy.
You've got hyperplasia, which is split fibers.
Yeah.
Hypertrophy increases the size, but I think like sarcoplasmic growth is just like a fluid, almost like the fluid retention and within cells. And I think that's what gives that swollen, like that. People that normally train like a Phil Heath, like they just think he pumps up like big fucking round muscle bellies because he's pushing blood in there. But I think it's much easier to attain sarcoplasmic growth than it is pure muscle fiber growth. So
makes sense.
Right. So, and like I say, it's one of the comments, and it wasn't just one person, and it wasn't idiots. It was people that I respect in the bodybuilding world that had said to me, like, you've gained this roundness to your physique that you never had. that might just be a case of development. That might have just been on the path. And once I got to a certain size, that's what would happen.
Yes.
But I kind of sort of want to attribute the change in training to it.
I like we said, to getting you on this podcast, mate. I've followed you fucking forever, and I think, and this is why I respected Patrick Twore, because when you take someone like you, obviously you're not working with Patrick, but I mean, when you take people that are already really good and you make substantial change, that's so much more impressive. Like, anyone can take an amateur or someone that's just out of shape, give them a load of juice, give them a training program, and they'll blow up. But to take, like he has with James, someone that's already fucking very good and smarter than most coaches, and make substantial change. And in your case, what you've done with yourself, where you've already been very good, followed you a while, you've competed a long time, and then made such a substantial change. I couldn't attribute that to just normal pace of change of physique. It's got to be variable. It's got to be something. And that is what has interested me so much, because it's clear that there's something there. There's something. You've not got smaller. You're twice as good. Your delta are popping, and it's like, if you could do that with less weight, less risk of injury, enjoying yourself more, and just enjoying the process more, then that should be something people should be listening to. You know, simple as that.
Yeah, like I said, I think I definitely enjoy training more, and my whole bodybuilding, I enjoy like so much more. I don't know whether it's, I'm not going to say pressure. I've always enjoyed training no matter what, but it feels like you go in there without a leash.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you just feel a bit constricted. Like, you look at your session and you're like, ugh. Like, how many times have you, not, your head's not been in it, but then you've gone a bit mad and like, fuck it, drop set, go. Right. And shit just goes mad. Like, it was going to be the shittest session in the world. But halfway through, something was like, oh, fuck it, let's do a drop. And then from that point, you and your training partner are just, right, if you're doing it, I'm doing it. And it's that fun sort of training that when you first started doing it. Whereas, oh no drop set, book says no. Like, sometimes it is fun just to get carried away. I mean, I'm very regimented to a plan. Like, I need a plan. I have an order of exercises, but then it's sort of like, right, that's a fly. Then I'll do a variation of a fly.
Yeah.
And I'll pick one for the week at all of the session. And like, that's a chest press, pick a variation. So it's not like specific exercises, but I like to know what I'm training, my exercises, and then sometimes someone might be on the thing that you want. But fuck it, we'll do that.
Oh, mate, don't say that. That's like the worst case scenario for a low book, innit? You have to fucking burn the book. He's on the machine I need to be on, or I can't start.
And then it's like, oh, well, I've had 15 minutes rest because I waited for that. So this number, that's going to be really hard to beat next week. Oh, fuck. Then it's a fucking dilemma. You'll have an asterisk and you book like, got 12, but had to wait 15 minutes. Like, how much shit can you write? Like, I see some logbooks, like, what the fuck? Like, oh, I've got 6 plus 1 negative, plus like...
Happy face. You know what I mean?
Like, how do you decide for that shit?
I couldn't, I'm too raw with me training. Like, I'm like you, I train emotionally. I love it. I don't compete because I train. I train, and competing might be a side effect. It's not what I do it for. And for me, when I was logbooking things, and I only have a logbook my first 2 exercises, and I still do roughly know what I'm doing now. But I used to hate my life, mate, because if the legs was coming up, I would sit there all week thinking, I've got to go and get 220 on a fucking bar and squat it 8 times. And I don't want to do that. And in my mind, though, in restricted mindset, I was like, that's the only way, Tyler. That's the only way you can do it. But then, like, I enjoy so much more messing about now. It's not messing, but it's like 3 plate front squats and go for 20 reps and just things that are still equally as hard, but just not as mundane or as scary in the wrong way. Because, like you said, mate, if you're scared by your training, like, genuinely, you need to get out of that place quick, because that's not the right way to be doing it.
So, I mean, it's just like a fear of injury. Like now, like I said, well, obviously we never sort of elaborate about. I haven't had knee wraps on any, like.
Yeah.
Obviously, I get a bit of tight. You get a bit of tightness, like your bodybuilder. It happens. But like, I mean, I used to, like, you get under a barbell, like, you warm up, like, you're coming down, like, oh, what the fuck? Like, how the fuck am I going to do a work set? Like, the warm up hurts. But now everything feels free. I actually feel more mobile. Like, and even when I started this training, like numbers on certain things dropped. But now I actually come back up to a level where I'm hitting like 3 sets of stuff that I probably would have been using maybe like as a work set. So, but it's because I've warmed up the whole way, it doesn't feel the same. Like,
yeah,
you've got so much blood in there that it's not, oh, this is actually, and I think it's actually because I am actually now that strong. My muscles can cope with it. Whereas before, it was almost fake strength.
Yeah.
That my muscles like, well, we're not really strong enough to deal with this. You can fuck off onto the tendons. And then all your joints hurt because they just passed the book. Like, and I do think that, I mean, strength does come. Like, once a muscle gets bigger, you can just deal with it much easier.
I mean, the only time I've ever been close to injury, and I always say it, and I'm honest, I've never been injured, but the only time I've been close is when I'm using any sort of elastic strength. That's it. So I'm doing bench or I'm doing press, and I just go, I try and just give it a little bounce, and I'm like, fuck, I felt that. So I just think you will really struggle. Like you said, if your muscles full of fucking blood, it's bursting, you're going to struggle to get injured if you're controlling that weight. It's red hot. There's blood all over it. There's not really any ways it's going to snap or ping, and it's usually related to, like you said, it's over excessive movements, overly being aggressive with weight, and all that just gets eliminated when you stop chasing fake strength. Because if you have to use leverage or bouncing or any of those techniques, that's not truly strength. Even if you repeat it week after week, you're not still using that movement and that body part to its full ability.
Yeah, and I think to get to that point where you are that warm, you've had to have done something that may eat away at that top end strength. So you're not going to be pushing the limits of what your muscles are actually, or you're not going to be pushing the limits of what would damage the muscle. Right, and it's just dealing, and then at some point, it goes, well, I can't contract anymore. Right, let's grow. Not what the fuck are you fucking putting on me? But I think that's where people think mechanical tension. They think if it feels like your pec's going to tear off at the bottom, I must be really loading this muscle. And it's like, no, it's not, you shouldn't feel like that ever.
It's like when people start talking about side effects of steroids and go, well, I haven't got the side effects of being absolutely off my head yet, so it can't be any good. You're looking at the wrong thing. You don't want that. You don't want to feel like things are going to snap off to know you're doing it right.
No.
I think this is something, mate, that I'm really passionate about. And I think you're very right. And I think this is new in a sense. It's not really. It's been going on a long time, but it's being overlooked. And I do think not too far from now, a lot of people are going to use these strength techniques. They're going to get strong, and then they're going to hit the wall I have, maybe the wall you had, where you're like, holy shit, do I really, where do I see myself? I don't look half like a pro, or I don't even look like a half a good bodybuilder. And I'm doing 180 bench flats for 10. Like, where am I going to have to go to be as big as I want to be? And I think once you hit that wall, you start looking like what you said. You eliminate any sort of bouncing reps. You start eliminating this. You control your rest periods. You start looking at ways to just torture yourself without just trying to strap weight on the bar. And I think that stuff I would love to, I'm glad I'm looking at. And I think people need to...
I think it just comes out, people have probably just got to take that sort of leap of faith. It's something like, say, like, I was the person that if 5 years ago I watched this video, I'd be calling the fuck out of both of us. And you know what I mean? And it just is. And there'll be people sat at home like, these fucking idiots on about. It's bollocks. And I only know what I know now from actually doing it.
Yes.
And I'm not someone that has done this all the time. So it's like, oh, that I'm looking at the other camp saying, oh no, it's fucking bollocks, it's shit, you don't want to train like that. I've been there, I've experienced it, I grew doing it.
You were strong.
Then, yeah, I mean, I was strong. Things pop up now, like videos pop up on like Facebook from memories, and I'm like, fuck me, like I just 12 reps of 220 on a squat, and it looked easy. And I'm like, I'm nowhere near it now.
And okay, do you think you've got better legs now?
Oh, they're miles better, like 100%. Like last night, I mean, we did it. We was training legs. Third exercise in, side X hack squat. first work set of 12, I had 2 plates aside. I then put a 5 on each side, and I got 10 reps. I then put a 2.5 on each side, and I think I got 9 reps. Now, I can go on Instagram and scroll down, and I'll show you 10 people doing 6, 7 plates aside on a side hack squat. And without being arrogant, because that's not how it's supposed to be, my legs are better than them.
Yeah, no, that's a totally different sport.
And it's like, well, it doesn't really matter if you're doing 7 plates aside. Like,
because what are you in this sport for? That's what I have to ask myself, and I'm sure all these lads have got to ask themselves. What are we actually in the gym for? I just want to be big, I'll be honest with you. I'm not too interested in how strong I am. I couldn't care. I enjoy it, and I think it's cool, but that's not really why I'm in there.
Thing is, like, at the end of the day, there's always going to be someone stronger. Like, you can put a video up and it's like, oh, it's fucking ace, but then someone will post a video and the 50 and it's gone, the shine's gone. It don't matter. Like, you got your ego boost. Everyone thinks you're cool as fuck. But then the next man comes along and he's stronger than you. Oh, he's stronger than you anyway. Like, bench press, I honestly think, I don't think I could do 10 reps at 3 plates aside.
On flat?
Flat or incline. I honestly don't think, if I went in and did it fresh now,
so
I don't think I'd be able to do it. I honestly don't.
So do you think you've gotten weaker, or do you think that your standards now of a good rep are just totally different?
Yeah, I just think I lift differently.
Okay.
Like, and it's so programmed in that I can't get out of it. Like, when I went to, I think it was a couple of years ago, I went to do charity bench press at AMPS. And it felt so, obviously, it was just, I think it was 75% of your body weight, maximum reps. And I was watching everyone, and they were just like, bang, slam it into their chest. And it honestly, it felt so fucking weird doing shit reps. I almost wanted just to bench, but I thought, I fucking can't. Like, there's a competition here. I didn't win it. But as soon as I get into a bar, like, it's just almost like programmed in now how to lift, that I would have to do something either very foreign or silly to probably do 3 plates. I've never been I'm not a massive presser. I never have been. I remember thinking it was a massive achievement getting to 2 plates aside. And I was probably 20, 21 years old. I see people now, like, they're 18 years old and they're probably doing 160. And I'm like, that's fucking strong. Like, I was always a very good squatter.
Yeah.
But I don't squat anymore because I'm very good at the movement. It's not actually effective for my quads.
I was about to say, I'm very good at them. I'm a very good squatter, but I don't think that necessarily means I'm a very good bodybuilding squatter. I am very good at bouncing down and powering back up with shit on my back, but that isn't necessarily being very good at using every single fiber and engaging all the muscle.
Yeah, when I back squat, it's literally all posterior chain, right? And it's lower back, glutes, hamstring. The quads are doing something. They're okay out.
Yeah.
But, so I don't squat. If I'm going to use a barbell, I'll use the safety squat because I can get a bit more upright, and it's almost like a front squat.
Yeah.
I can't front squat. I've never been able to. It either falls off my shoulders or it chokes me out. So that's not me. So I don't know if you saw the video last night. Those V-bar front squat, absolutely fucking love them.
I like that.
Hack squats, love them. The hammer strength leg press, I don't like 45-degree leg presses. I've got like a slightly longer, like, lower leg. Like, squatting down, everything moves around it. But coming the other way, I just don't seem to, sometimes a bit uncomfortable. I still do them every now and again, but it's not my favourite lift. But yeah, I think, and it also goes to the point, like, people think you've got to deadlift or you've got to squat. Like, this is bodybuilding. You have to do what stimulates your muscles.
Yeah.
There's no exercise that will get you, like, further.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you're just doing, like, shit fucking cables, like, for everything, like, you're just not going to stimulate anything. But I say, like, I don't deadlift the back.
I've never done it, to be honest with you, mate. I've just never liked it. But obviously,
I do.
For my demographic and the people I try and help, I just preach compounds because obviously for me, as a beginner, brand new, that's what they should do. They should master them. But like you said, once you get into it, you do realise some work for you and some don't. And
yeah, I mean,
squats is a prime example. If you're good, you might not be good at building muscle via squats.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I mean, I like RDLs for I deadlift on hamstring day. I just don't do it on back day. And that's another thing. Like, I get a very, very good connection on RDLs. Literally, like, my hamstrings and ass just feel like they're going to cramp up the whole movement. And the heaviest I get to is like 60 kilo dumbbells. Like, I see people doing fucking 250, 260, like, and they're 10 stone. And it's like all the effort just went into standing up. That, yeah, obviously there'll be a contraction. It can't not be. But do you need to? Like,
the question, mate, that's fascinating me, and I'm excited to try some cool things, was like you just said, you are a better bodybuilder this year. I mean, PCA overall champion. You're a better bodybuilder this year than you was last year or the year before, for example. And you're saying that you couldn't do the lifts you did. So categorically, strength hasn't affected your look. I think personally, you are so controlled now in what you do. The only reason you're not as strong is because you're not as reckless. You are probably stronger. You're just using your body properly, you know. And I'm thinking about it now, thinking like Jay Cutler. It's made sense for me. Jay Cutler was doing 114 climb for 8, but if maybe he did incline and he bounced it and he used it and he smashed it, maybe he'd been doing 180. But
it's doing the, like, I think Jay was just very intelligent and very smart. Like, I subscribed, I don't know if you subscribe to J Mail. Like, I'm part of the Cutler Club and all that.
Would be on the J. You have a J beanie, don't you? You had a Cutler Nutrition beanie on the other day, didn't you?
I've got my Cutler shorts on now. Like,
so no one loves Jay more than you. So this is it. So I asked you about him.
And he still don't follow me on Instagram. I've asked, the amount of times I've asked now.
Because you met him, haven't you? Did you train with him, or was it a seminar at your place? Or
yeah, the seminar. It was up at Millington's gym, Middlesbrough. I posed down with him. Then he signed the photos to Matt. Like signed photos of us posing together.
I think it's so disrespectful, mate. Like you said, people don't respect our pros, and it pisses me off. They just think the average Jay Cutler, 7,000 calories a day and did 10 grams of this. I'm like, are you seriously? Like, is that seriously what you think? Is that how disrespectful you could be? Like, the guy obviously, like when you said it to me, obviously he's intelligent. Obviously. He consistently grew for 15 years.
He was the catalyst for changing my training. Like I say, I'm part of J-Mail.
Yeah.
He sends an email out every day, and it's just like a little fucking tip and hint or whatever. And it's fucking, honestly, you should subscribe to his mail. It's like just little knowledge bombs, like just about volume and like why he believes in the volume and stuff like that. Then I'm part of Cutler Club as well. And every Saturday he does a Facebook Live video, and there's literally like 30 of us watching, and you can just talk to him, and he just answers, and he just literally just maximum. The most I've ever seen in this 40 people, and he's just there, sat in his office. He goes on for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, FaceTime with him. Literally, he just answers all your questions. It's fucking brilliant.
No way. We're going to ruin that now, by the way. You've just ruined your Cutler Club there, mate. That's gonna
you have to pay.
Yeah.
Every week, follow me on Instagram.
Fucking Jay.
I'll be kicked out soon.
So what's he saying? Is he, because obviously
on the actual Cutler Club website, he has all of his. You get access to all of his ebooks. And he has his full volume thing, and he's got like a 3-day split, a 4-day split, a 5-day split, and a 6-day split. And I got them, I downloaded them, and he's got this the guide to volume and the full write-up, and I was just like, it just makes so much fucking sense.
Yeah.
And at that time, the transition was so unbelievably hard. Like, I didn't actually know how to go to the gym and train like that. It was just weird. Like I look at somebody and go, "Oh, you do 4 sets of 12," and I'm like, "Well, I need fucking context. Is that 12 to fail? Is that all?" And it took me probably 4 weeks of like, I couldn't train instinctually. Like people say, oh, just train with your instincts. I literally couldn't do it. I was so set in this logbooking and this is so regimented that I was like, I forgot how to train. Like, and I had just try and be a kid again. Like, what did I first do? I just picked shit up and lifted it, and I had fun, and I did that, right, and I'll try that, and I do it. And it just, I couldn't believe, like I'm quite knowledgeable, and I've got quite a lot of experience in bodybuilding, but the fact I couldn't just go in the gym and do it I was like, what the fuck? Like, how can I not just lift it up? And then I'm like, oh, but it's... So I understand why it would be hard for people to maybe make the leap and like, you got to try something, because you have to do it for 6 months to a year. You can't do a training plan after 2 weeks ago, no, that don't work.
I mean, yeah.
You've got to give it time, and it was, honestly, it was so hard. So it took me 6 months of like, in and out, like, oh, I'll just log that lift. And then I've probably done this solidly now for 18 months. I think the final straw was when we went to Body Power, and I was trained by JP Nutrition, and we was all chatting. I was like, you're all right. Yeah, my elbow's fucked. And I was like, oh, my knee's fucked. And every single person was just fucked. And I was like, this ain't right. Like, why is everyone that trains like this absolutely bollocks? Like, I'm taking so much curcumin, I'm taking this, I've got wraps on, I'm working around this injury right now, everyone's working around a niggle. I think, this didn't happen. Like, you know, what's battle for the Olympian, they're all fucked. They're all...
If you want to go to the very basic of it, mate, without like, I mean, the genetics can be thrown in here. But if you look at Ronnie and Jay, you know, that is I mean, look at Ronnie now and look at Jay now. Obviously genetics, and Ronnie, you know, has a hereditary kind of condition with his hips, but still, you look at the difference, who would you rather be? Even if that training worked, you know, it's quite clear. Jay Cutler's a fucking boss, man. He's bouncing around at 50 years old, looks healthy as hell. I don't know how many injuries I got, but I think when he started going a bit heavy, he did his bicep, didn't he? And then...
His bicep was in a photo shoot, and that was for the 2000, was that the 2011?
I mean, that was years after, wasn't it?
That's at the end. Like, he tore his bicep like at the end of his career. Like, I'm sure we all had like a few little niggles, nothing serious that, oh, this might be the end, or I'm out for 4 months,
or even just training. If you're changing your training around an injury, that immediately is impeding your progress. So technically speaking, you know, you are losing out, even just being under a niggle.
Yeah, that's it. If you have to worry about something, like, it's not good.
Yeah,
you can't be progressing.
I think you're spot on with that one, mate. And I think if you even did break it down to this level and say, okay, straight strength-based progressive overload work.
Can you pause it? I'm going to piss myself. You're going to have to edit this down.
Can we pause it right? How do I do this? I'll just pause the recording, all right, mate? And the recording's on again, mate. We're all good. I think.
Quick apology for the professionalism unless you edit it out. But
I'll try editing it out.
I keep it in, it's raw.
Yeah, it's well funny, yeah. Well, I don't even know what I was trying to say. The point was, mate, I don't even know. Well, it was a good point. I swear. Yeah. I just think the whole reason I was excited to do this is because I think nobody else has really taken a public stand on it. Everyone's kind of being quiet. There's a few very good coaches almost keeping it to themselves. And I just think it should be discussed more. And I think, like I did on my stories a while back, like, the answers just aren't clear enough for me. I just don't think anyone really has a fucking clue what's actually going on. And I just think when you compare traditional strength-based bodybuilding training and then you compare it with the volume counterpart, it does look a lot more like the volume-based counterpart is more effective in the sense of what it actually feels like, you know, what it actually feels like it's doing to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just have to be careful when people hear volume, they think they're just doing more in the session. Like, it's not an excuse to train like a pussy. And sometimes I think that's how it's viewed. They just think it's fluff training. Oh, you're just doing stuff like, yeah, it's all right, but you're just doing loads so you don't have to train hard. And it's like, believe me, like, if anybody thinks that, come train with me. Literally, like, they can. Like, they can come and train.
I was just going to say, volume, if you're saying to me, way we're talking about this, I'm not going to add really any more volume. I am just going to decrease my rest periods and increase the actual work and intensity. That's probably what I should have said. I'm not going to do 30 sets or anything like that, you know?
That's, you know, and even then, like, that's another thing about this whole low volume, high volume. Like, a lot of it comes down to what do you actually define as a set? People think Dorian Yates was low volume. Well, count his sets up. They go, oh, he only did one work. He did one working set, and he like 4 exercises. He only did 4 sets. One was blood and guts, and he did more than 4 sets.
I was about to say, yeah.
But so if you define a work set as that's all you class as a set, then yeah, there's not many sets. But there's still going to be some sort of accrued fatigue from them preceding sets so they count towards something. Like, unless you are doing, and this is why I just don't like anymore, been there, done it, the single set warm-ups. Like, if you're about to, I don't know, if you're about to squat 220 and you do like 8 reps of 60 and then you do 4 reps of 100, then you put 140 on for 2 reps and 160 on for 1 rep. I don't think the muscles are ready to have 200 kilograms put through them for 12 reps.
No.
And if you did 10 reps of 60, 10 reps of 100, 10 reps of 140, 10 reps at 160, could you do 10 reps at 200? Probably not. Well, there's your answer. Pull the weight down, right? And still be effective.
Such an important point to make, mate, isn't it? And I mean, I'll probably be honest, I don't think either of us know the true answer. You should probably write something on this. But like, what is strength? Like how, like you just said, what actually is strength? Is your strength level correct if, like you said, you take no warm-up sets and you just get straight in and that is your 8 rep max? Is that a correct 8 rep max? If, like you've said, you couldn't actually do that if you warmed up properly and safely and efficiently, or if you took a 4-second long and negative, like, I suppose whatever you define by strength is probably going to be the most important thing for your progression. You probably say now, you know, you need to control the weight more. And if I showed you how I inclined, you'd probably say, well, you're bouncing that a bit, or that's a bit rushed. And then my whole definition of strength is totally different. And I'm going down a totally different path.
That's what I mean. I think if you're in a lab and you're doing 1 rep max testing, you literally rest 4 to 5 minutes for every set. So ATP fully replenishes, and you're literally, that is your full threshold. The same way that a powerlifter is backstage and he'll probably do a set of deadlifts and wait 10 minutes and put some more weight. Literally, like, they don't want to take away anything. They want to be 100% for that 1 rep max or that lift. But that is a strength focused sport. That is the goal. That is not the goal with bodybuilding. That 1 rep max is not building any muscle. The goal with bodybuilding is building muscle, and you have to take a different path. Like, you don't need to hit. Like I say, I train with rep maxes like that. That's what I use. But it's not my 10 rep max or my 12 rep max. I just at that very given moment in time, it is my 12 rep max.
Yes.
So even if I'm fatigued to hell and it's the last exercise on quad day, that in that very moment, I want my 12 rep max. I'm not going to be putting up my actual 12 rep max. Like, but that doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's just that time. And that's how I treat everything. It doesn't matter what I did last week or 6 weeks ago. What can I do right now? And I take the body all the way. And it can't do any more. And that's how I view my training. It's in the moment. And that is it. Nothing else has an effect on it.
I think that change in judgment is going to be the biggest takeaway for me and probably people watching. And it's that what you said about effective reps. It's that what your rep max is or what, that doesn't necessarily matter. It's the feeling in the muscle. It's going to close proximity to failure for that given part of the workout. You know, if it's your last exercise, you're going to get to failure quicker with less weight, but that's just as effective as if you're going to be doing that exercise first with more. And I think the minute you start realizing that, your whole workout opens up, because I've always had the issue with my first exercise. I go in, I squat my head off. I don't want to do anything else because I'm like, well, I've just done 2,000 kilograms in squat volume in a set. I don't really think I can do anything more. So what the fuck's the point of me being here? So all I would do is just mess about and do some fluff, because I just never fully believe that, like Mike Mentor said, once you've achieved a point in your workout where you feel like, you know, you've made progress, or you're going to force the body to grow, get out, because anything more can actually be not just a waste of time, but highly counterproductive, because you're just doing stuff for no reason. But I always did think this, and I thought, like you said, mate, if you judge yourself by rep maxes and all that, the issue you quickly run into is once you are depleted, or once you haven't got the wind right outside, once, you know, you're not had enough water for the day, you start losing shit. Whereas when you're in the moment and you're like, well, this is what my body can give for 12. It's all it can do. I know it is, because I'm trying my best. This is all I've got. It changes the dynamic.
Yeah, I like you raised a point earlier, that it's the stress on the muscle is all we're looking for. And if it can't do any more, then it's fully stressed. Like,
yeah.
And that should be the stimulus to say, right, I'm fucked. I've been broken down. I have to repair bigger to do this again next time. It's not, hold on, I'm sure we did 100 kilos more than this last month, so we'll just fucking not grow. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't know. Like people were saying, the body doesn't know what weight's on the bar. It's an internal stimulus. Like, it doesn't matter. It's not fucking hell, we've got a big one today. Like,
yeah.
It detects how much of an effort this is. Like,
that's the one, mate.
I mean, I've been at the end of a workout, I'm going to do leg extensions, and literally had to do a work set on what would be my very first warm set of pumping some blood into it. Like, and at one point, I thought, even if I just hung my feet over the edge, I don't think I can actually lift my feet up. Like, I couldn't actually just extend my leg. You're fucked, you're bollocks in own time. Like, and I think Mike Mentor was right in that thing, but I think it probably got lost. Like, people almost took that as if it was like a very specific point in a training session. It's probably that big. Like, there's probably a window. You probably hit it, and until you do too much,
yeah,
like, it's a bit like the overtraining thing. People almost think that, like, oh, if I do this next rep, I've overreached. And it's like, you've probably got another 4 exercises before you get, like, beyond it.
I think, yeah, I'm definitely I just think, like you said, mate, I mean, the human body, we've been around, if you go to Neanderthals, nearly 15, 20,000 years. We've been civilized for maybe 200. We've had barbells for about 150. Like, let's fucking face it, your body doesn't know what's going on. For all it cares, you've got a tiger on your chest, you're trying to get it off. So the way you start looking at it, and like you said, you've got some stress, is things can be more stressful than adding a rep onto your incline bench. Happy as Larry putting it back on and waiting 10 minutes to do it again. There are more ways to freak this system out that I think more people should be exploring. And I think it's not being explored enough, because even if strength does work, and it's got me so far, I do think there is limitations and there's holes in that.
Yeah, I think strength is a massive limit. And some people's might be, everyone's different. Some people will go a bit, some people's strength might carry on forever. Like, some people might just hit a fucking wall. And then you've got a problem to solve. And that's when you sort of got to explore different avenues. It's like, oh shit, well, that's it. Like, which a lot of people do.
Up the trend.
Or they try and force stuff. Yeah, like, well, they'll just, oh shit, let's take more drugs, or let's take more of this so I can get stronger. Like,
I think the whole, it's probably a bit of a, what's it called, generalized statement, but I think the whole strength thing does rely on drugs. It does. You know, you're like, fuck, I'm not strong anymore. I can't push my incline any higher. More test, more deca, that'll blow me joints up, that'll give me the strength I need, and I'll boost it. And in the end, you're just relying on, you know, it's a temporary solution to a permanent problem. You want to be making strides.
Drugs don't affect my strength one bit.
Now, yeah.
Ever. Like, before I use, like, I was around guys at the gym and they're like, oh, I take oxys and I can put 20 kilos on my bench press. I'm like, fucking hell, they sound good. Like, people like talking about trend, like, oh, as soon as you start taking trend, you put 2 plates aside in your bench press. And honestly, I started taking drugs and I was like, well, when's his strength going to come? I never ever noticed like a crazy leap in strength between being on drugs and off drugs. Like, when I go down to TRT, nothing changes. When I round everything up, nothing changes. The pump's more insane. Like, my pumps are crazy when I take drugs. But I'm just not one of these people that responds strength-wise. And I don't class myself as a strong person. I'm stronger than the average. But I see a lot of guys around that are a lot smaller than me doing much sort of larger weights.
Oh man, on leg presses especially. Leg press and hack squat must be the only exercise I get my ass kicked on consistently by Instagram. Because I'm like, what the fuck? Where does hack squat come from? Because...
but it's one of those things that probably bothered me a few years ago. Well, it didn't bother me. I just, like, whatever happens. Like, even when I train, like, I could be training with someone, no matter what they did, it would never influence my set. I know what I'm capable of, and that's what happens. But yeah, I don't consider myself like mega strong. I see people doing some crazy shit, and I'm like, what the fuck? But I also think I've got a pretty good amount of muscle for obviously not thinking that I'm crazy strong.
Well, you haven't slowed down. You're getting consistently better. And the question that I asked before, I think solved it all for me. And for anyone who's watching it, I think it will solve it for them. You were stronger 1-2 years ago, and now you are 5.
Yeah, on paper I was stronger, like we said.
Yeah, of course, yeah, of course.
If we manipulate factors like they used to be, and like it could, like, I've got more muscle now, so
you're probably stronger, yeah.
But yeah, like, in terms of weights that I'm actually using, I'm using less weights.
Which is the best thing ever. Like, like, the best thing ever in life would be to look like your goal bodybuilder and use no fucking weight, because your risk of injury is super low. You know, you're not going to be smashing yourself to pieces. You don't have to stay in the gym forever. Like, that's the goal, man. And so what are you saying then to people? Are you saying a tip would be look into negatives, like, more? So like tempo training? Because I have my own tempo, but do you have a specific tempo that you'd want to be?
I'm not a massive believer in tempos. I think lift how you feel comfortable, as long as you're in control. You have to own every inch of every rep.
Okay.
And as long as you're doing that, it doesn't matter. Like, you can do a 2-second negative or a 5-second negative. Like, that's up to you. As long as you initiate the muscle and you drive it up quite powerfully, like, say, like, in terms of like the force relationship, you need to be obviously exerting as much force as possible. But yeah, I don't think everything, because, like I say, sometimes I go under and I thought, oh, this is cool. This isn't that heavy. So at like rep 4, I might just slow it down. And I might go, I've manipulated my own 12 rep max by just going a touch slower. Like, I'll bring failure about with this weight. Like, I could have racked it and just put more weight on, but nah, fuck it. Like, I'll just manipulate the set to fail. Like, that whole Milo Sarche fail quicker thing, or like, because I probably could have maybe done 15, 16 with it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm pretty good at getting it right. But if that is the case, like, sometimes, and even like halfway through sets, like, you might just, oh, fuck it, oh, fucking hell, I really like that. That's a nice move. And yeah, so in terms of tempo, but then again, I think you don't have to have like a set tempo if nothing's actually being logged or you're trying to beat through it, because it doesn't matter.
Well, I think what you said to me is probably going to change my training, is the way we said about the squat and the bench, like leaving weights in free fall, or getting a little, when you're on the bench, you give a little bounce off your pec. Like, even just there, you lose 15, 20%. That's something I'm going to change. And I think people should too. So like, even on squats, bouncing out the hole, like, all these points will probably support the whole theory of what you're even saying. It could even account for the strength you say you might not have, just because you now fully have that weight. You no longer have the power of skipping 10% every rep for 10 reps and adding whatever, you know.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is all just probably theory and
Maybe it is, but I think
technology and philosophies on training. But I think it's good. It's just good to talk about. Like, this is the thing. Like, I could talk about bodybuilding training for fucking days. Literally, I could sit down with someone and just, even if it's bullshit, like it could just be like total hypothesis, like, and it's just nonsense. But I love talking about it, and no one talks about it anymore. Like, we've gone like full side. It used to be everyone just talked about drugs, and now everyone just talks about nutrition. It's like, oh, how do you lose weight? Oh, you need calorie deficit. It's this and it's this and it's this. No one ever says fucking train hard. Like, too many people just go to the gym and tick a box. Yeah, did my gym session. Nothing's changing. Like, the difference between doing your gym session and training fucking hard can change your physique. Like, it can. Like, the metabolic activity that occurs from just like literally smashing yourself to bits is unbelievable. But no one talks about training anymore. Like you said, are people scared to, well, not speak it out? It's not an attack. It's just supporting a different method. But are people that scared of voicing their opinions somewhere on social media that they just get shot down so much by, and it's generally, again, not by top people that support a different method, because they're very aware that there's so many ways to play this game.
Yeah.
Well, it's the little foot soldiers. Oh, you probably can't say that. No. Like, it's mad. They get so defensive.
Yeah, like, you could have, I don't think a top guy in any field could look at this conversation or look at these theories and say, there's nothing to them, because like we even said at the beginning, and I truly believe this, I don't think we've made that many evolutions in bodybuilding training. I think the best physiques on the top stage are getting better, but in general, I just think we're all still where we was in the fucking 90s. We have all this technology, but we just don't really know. We can't, I mean, they did a study on Patrick Tuor's style of training versus just standardized training, and all they could find was Patrick Tuor's style training gave a bit more of a pump, and they don't even know what that does. This is scientists, we don't know. And because we don't know, there's nothing wrong with just saying, hey, this is what I think, and that you should try it. But like you said, the problem is with people, trying it means giving it 4 to 6 weeks with a few more calories, and if they don't fucking look like Jay Cutler, it's shite. So This is it.
I mean, in terms of training, we probably have evolved from the 50s and 60s. Like, nutrition got a bit better, so we improved in the 80s. Then a few more exotic drugs came out, so we got better in the 90s. But the trend, like, you watch Pumping Iron. It was, I mean, you got literally, they didn't wrestle, and he dragged someone out of the fucking squat rack because he's on the floor and he wants to do his set. Like, and he's back in. Like, you look at Ali and Franco they just changed places and rep out, and there's no real thinking. They're just knowing they're lifting weights, and I think that's what happened into the 90s. They just picked it up and put it back down for an hour.
I think only 2013, 14 plus, we had been arrogant enough as bodybuilders to go, this is the only way you can do it. Because before that, it was, oh, you do that, do you? Well, I'm this, you know, I do this. Like, now it's like, if you aren't doing this, there's got to be a reason. You're either a genetic freak or an idiot, because only real people would do it this way, you know. It makes sense to me, mate, and it really shocked me when I just put on my Instagram, I was like, about genetics, and I had people coming to me going, yeah, but the pros are freaks. They can do anything and grow. And I'm like, mate, there's millions of pounds of prize money and legacy, like lifelong legacy to win the Mr. Olympia. Like, this isn't just a game to them. They're sacrificing their health and lives. If doing this would make them better, I'm sure they'd do it. I'm sure they would. Yeah,
like I say, it's one of those very strange arguments, and I don't know whether it's a brainwash. Like, the problem is you've got so many people out there trying to make money. You've got to sell something new. Like, everything's got to be packaged a little differently, or like, oh, this new training style is definitely the way. Buy my ebook, and it's like, is it though? Like,
And there's a
And
new
even
book
like,
6 months later. I've changed
I
my
mean,
style now. You need my new ebook.
that's what I mean, and I just think like, is it just all sales? Like, it used to be guys on forums discussing shit, like the same shit. I mean, I bet training didn't even get spoke about that much back then because it was almost like a standardized thing. This is how we did it.
Yeah.
Like, but you just, like you say, you watch the big guy in the gym. What the fuck's he doing? Yeah, or you watch the Battle for the Olympia or the DVDs that came out, or you get the magazines. Right, that's their routines, and you crack on. And now it's like you go on one internet page and this internet page, and it's like, fuck me. Like, what the fuck? Like, I have people message me and they've gone and they've created like this hybrid program between DC training and fortitude training, like thinking that I'm going to get the best of both worlds. Like, mate, that plan, like, has stood the test of time, DC. It has. Like, it's got people big and it's got, whether there's things that I may think are flawed or not, it has. So don't try and change the fucker. And it's like, when the original 3-day split came out, yeah, but I want to do it in a 5-day. So I just added these training days, like, and I'm just like, well, why? Why? Oh, well, I think I can improve it. Like, well, that's pretty offensive to Dante. Like, literally, oh, well, I'm just going to add an arm set. Why? Well, like, when I was a believer in that, obviously, but I used to give people low volume and like, this doesn't seem a lot. I'm like, well, trust me, you should fuck after you've done it. You haven't done it right. Oh, well, I just added some drop sets because it wasn't a lot. Like, I didn't feel smashed though. And you just think like, well, people are just like so fucking confused. There's so much information available to people. Sometimes they just I think they don't.
I think that is the problem, mate. Paralysis by analysis, really. Because like
yes,
in the 90s, who's the biggest guy in the gym? I'll do what he's doing. You probably do that for 5 years. Now, you look at the biggest guy in the gym and you go, well, the guy I follow on Instagram says meatheads are idiots, so fuck him. I'm going to go on the internet and look at all these guys and see what they're doing. And like you said, they just program hop. 1 week they follow this guy, they love him. The next they think this guy's got it right, they love him. And they don't apply themselves to anything. And I think across the board, I think if there's one variable that everybody who's in shape has in common, it's definitely application of intensity, in a sense of, even if you're a low volume guy, you can do a set, you can engage, and you can create that kind of hypertrophic response through just, you know what you're doing, if you know what I mean? And then the people out there that just are just like a bit of movement weirdos, they just can't connect, they just throwing weights around and they don't get that level of intensity that I think we all have in common.
Yeah.
It's just now, and this is why I want to do this video with you, mate, because I was like, it'd be a crime not to just talk about it and put it out there, because it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Yeah, I think the first part of learning how to train should be learning how to train hard.
Yeah.
Then over time, learn how to train smart.
Yes.
And hard. But now people are trying to, I don't know, people use training smart as an excuse to fucking slack off. But it's, like you say, no matter what method you use, the one thing that has to underpin everything is training hard.
Yeah, and
like,
it's something you can describe, really. I think it's quite a weird one to describe. It's like a...
For me, I always used to say that it's just pushing your body until it won't go anymore. So even if you're a low volume guy, you're having 10 minutes between sets. As long as that fucking set is taken until you can't do any more, you can't do any more. Like that. Or whether you do your 3 sets with no fucking rest in between, as long as that set is taken to its absolute limits, that's it. I've had clients, I've seen videos, I'm like, there's fucking 5 reps left in there. No, that was it. No, I just switch off.
Everybody out there that is like that, you're fucked. Forget programming, forget food, drugs. If you are purposefully just in a limited mindset where you're just coming 4 or 5 reps under where you actually even need to be, you're just done. Like, there's nothing that can save you. I think one of the big things you will miss that people don't seem to do too much anymore. When I first started training, I just fucked about for 2 years. Like, I just went in, I was like, that doesn't work. I'll try to get a pump on this. Oh, I like that. And you learn your own body. You learn kind of how to get a pump and what feels good and what feels right. Whereas now you've got 18-year-olds coming into bodybuilding a week in, they've already got a coach who's got all these strategies and things. And then they don't even know how to apply any of it. So it doesn't even matter. They haven't messed about. They've got years of, like you said, building coordination, neuromuscular control. Like a lot of things just sometimes just take a load of messing to kind of adapt to, you know?
Yeah, like when you say like learn your body and things like, people at the minute it's massive on fucking Instagram. People taking the piss out with the form police and stuff. Like, again, I don't think there's such thing as textbook form. A form is individual. Form is individual.
100%.
Like, you have to get that. Obviously, you have to do the movement, but everyone's going to have slight tweaks which gets them in the groove.
Yes.
To feel where they should. You can't say, no, you've got to lean back here. Oh, well, I'm not quite feeling that. If I just tilt a bit, fuck me, I get that. Well, textbook said no. Like, everyone's going to go a little bit different. And I don't know, like, you have guys coming to the gym that aren't even learning basic movements. Like you see, you program a deadlift into someone's training plan. It's like, well, I don't know how to deadlift. Or they send you a video and like, fuck me, like, and again, you talk about it all the time, and it is one of the biggest flaws of online coaching. Yeah. You don't get that face-to-face where you can, one, teach someone the movements, and two, actually make sure they're training hard. Like, you send someone away with the best fucking plan ever, and then the feedback, oh mate, loving training, I'm fucking training so hard. And then you see a video of them on Instagram, like, I thought you were training hard. Like, if that's your hard, like, you're fucking miles off. Or you see, like, an exercise, like, oh, fucking hell, so you're going to break your back. And it is, but if you want, obviously, make money, like, you can't just online coach local people. Yeah. So it is always one of the flaws. And I know you always talk about, like, how you want to teach people movements and stuff.
I've always said, mate, if someone comes to me and I say to them, is your form any good? And they're like, I don't know. I'm like, get a PT. I'm like, go pay some kid a good one, pay him £200-300 quid. Tell him, listen, mate, I just want to learn squat, deadlift, bench, row, overhead press. I want to learn that. Perfect. And then you're done. Like when I said about the Smith machine row the other day, I got asked about, do you do Smith bent over row? And I just thought, the guy who was asking me was 18. And I was thinking, what, like Smith machine bent over row, whether that's a good move or not, you should probably know how to fucking free weight row first. Because the benefit of the Smith row is that you don't have to use stability tissue to wobble around anymore. You can get stuck in on just the row movement. But is that even a benefit if you don't even know how to free weight row anyway? I'm like, people are putting the cart before the horse all the time, trying to just skip through things and take what, like you said, take what they like and leave what they don't. But the whole philosophy of bodybuilding, it's the stuff you don't like tends to be the shit you need to do anyway. You know, like, I don't like the idea of volume training. That's why I'm so attracted to it. Because I'm like, this would probably be good for me because it's going to fuck me up.
That's what I mean, like the transition into it was fuck me, this is hard. Like, but then you get fitter. Like, even like this year, like posing and stuff on stage, and I also got into better shape and I stayed fuller. And I don't know whether it's a fact of the training. Like, I didn't need, I don't know, like my food stayed a lot higher. Obviously, I'm with moving all the time and less rest. Like, I'm burning through food.
Yeah.
And I'm so much fitter. Like, obviously, my weight even still went up, but I was coping with, like, doing stuff that, like, normally at that weight, like, fuck me, I can't walk. But I think you do get conditioned to that style of training, like, always moving and always going in, getting back in before you, whilst you're sort of still breathing heavily and going again. Like squatting when you're like, fuck me, I need another 10 minutes to start breathing.
Yeah, I kind of felt like I started to become a human, like a human, you know, them big cows, the Belgian Blue Bulls. I was like, it's my goal to be a Belgian Blue Bull. Like, I look big and I look great, but I'm just a slow fucking waste. Honestly, mate, and I thought about it for ages. I was like, I wanted to get on the pads and do some pad work. So I was like, as much as I love bodybuilding, I really do. I do like the idea of being a bit fit, you know, like even for the muscle you have, you'd want to feel good, you know, instead of being a bit like, creeping around the place and waiting 10 minutes between sets like I do, mate, and I'll sit there and it works for me. But I know there's just like, there's better way. There seems to be like, you have more trade-off if you know, you're back in, you're less risk of injury, you make yourself fitter, probably burn more calories just because you're putting a bit more effort in. And then, you know, you don't know what kind of physiological changes happen when you summon up all this kind of horror. No one really knows what's happening with it. You know, when you get a pump and your body's burning and it's dying, like, we still don't fully understand what's even going on. Like, there's obviously metabolites getting thrown around, blood, lactic acid, but we don't fully understand how they all work and what they do to a muscle tissue. And I just think I'm really excited by applying that more. And because, I mean, I said to you, I think it was Andy or you the other day, I said, my best body part is arms. Mine is. And I was like, what have I done for arms for the last 7 years? I just go in on a Saturday and just destroy them. That's it. And I'm all first to admit it. I just blitz them, pumps, low rest, smash them. They got veins everywhere. And I'm like, why have I never thought, I'll try that with chest or I'll try that with back? Because you just don't.
And I think a lot of people's best body parts is also the one they can tolerate, or maybe not tolerate, but they don't mind pushing through the pain. You know, like when you're doing a bicycle, that fuck me, and you're like, oh no, more. Like, and the pain, and you're in your head, you're like, I should stop now, it fucking hurts. But you just want to keep going. And I think the body parts that you do that with, like, I'm pretty good at doing that with my legs. Like, even when they're burning and I'm pumped to fuck, I'll push through. And the same with my arms, and like my arms are my best body part.
Your arms are sick,
and it's just like, even when the pain's setting in, I fucking love it. And it's like, let's just keep going, like, just make them burn more and more and more. And like, you've failed, and then the bar's moving like 6 inches, and you do another 15 reps.
You still go.
And then it's not even moving, you're like, I'm just going to keep going until this bar will fucking move. Like, how many times do you do that on the leg extension? Like, right, I can't move it, but I'm going to move it an inch 10 times. Like, you're like, oh, I'm out of it.
Because it would take so much more, wouldn't it? It would take so much more out of it. I'd be sick. I'd vomit. If I train my legs or train my arms, I'd vomit. But I honestly think I'd be a better bodybuilder. I do. Because I just think that no pain, no gain quote, maybe in the last 10 years, we've all just tried to turn our back on. We've been like, pain is bad. Pain is the enemy. Pump gives you restriction. Pump's going to take away your power for your top set. It seems like we're avoiding the very thing that probably could be a secret. I think obviously strength training builds muscle. There's some incredibly big guys doing it. But I think you do get to a limit where there's many other doors that open to you. Once you're a strong guy, so many doors open to go and use that strength and actually take a step back and not be too bothered about it. Like, you know, if I'd never hit a 2-plate bench, I would not listen to this video. I'd be like, fuck you guys, I'm getting 2 plates. You know what I mean? But if I'm doing 3, they're like, all right, I'll take it down to 120 and feel every single rep and see what it does for me. So it's fascinating, man. And I think it's got to be talked about. 100%.
Yeah, definitely. Like I say, I fucking love talking about training. I love sitting down and writing training plans. And like, something I've done, like even when I first started, I used to love sitting down. Oh, well, that's fucking sadistic. And just, but then you sort of get lost, like say with a logbook, knowing that, oh shit, I got to do that every week. So I'm just going to make it a bit easier. Like, I make that training like, if you're going to think, oh no, I'm just going to go in and just absolutely fuck this up, you'll never want to do it again.
Yeah.
So you would never put it in a plan that is going to come around every 3rd session.
I think you're spot on, and I think I am calling people out almost publicly and saying, you're right. All these logbooks, 70% of people doing it are just cheating every single week. And then you said they do a form reset. Like, they're just cheating. To reset the form, to cheat again. And it's because you know what it's like, mate. If I go on incline bench, I could stick my ass up in the air, tip me just a bit higher. I've got another 2 reps there. I could speed the rep up. I've got another rep there. You know, I could completely forget me negative and just bounce it off me pecs. I've got another rep there. And this is what people are periodically doing, because like you said, they don't standardize form, because standardizing form is really difficult. Because when you're in a position of pain and you know you've got more to do, it's very difficult to just accept defeat and go, okay, my next rep's going to be shite. I've got to do 5 more. I'm going to leave it. They can't do that. They've got to swing more. They've got to keep going and tick that box. And I think that is just limiting, because the volume can scrap.
Well, actually, I've done it, so I know what happens.
I'm me.
I've done it every week.
Yeah, I've learned the lessons. I've been a big fan. And like I said, I think I want to do this video because I'm at a point where a lot of people probably are. You've done things that a lot of people want to do, you know, improve your stage presence 10 times over and actually use less weight, look fucking better. Like, that's a mega deal. And enjoy your training. Like, that's a mega deal. And I think it's, if you don't hear about it and people aren't willing to stand up and say, I've done it and I'm a bit wrong, people aren't going to be willing to change. You know what I mean?
So we're starting a cult.
Yeah.
We're gonna
people
get
who are in the cult are going to know we're trying to start a cult. That's what I think is going to happen. They're like, them bastards are trying to beat us to it. They're going to be the volume cult.
Oh, God. Oh, sweating.
I'm trying to think how long we've done this for. I think it's like 2 hours, you know. And I could keep going. It's the worst bit.
It's 4:30. It was mealtime half an hour ago. Fucking hell. 2.5 hours, mate.
We're both shrinking now, talking about training, acting like bodybuilders. We're both shrinking. We're fucked. But mate, it's been a pleasure. We're going to put this up, and we'll probably have to do another one about nutrition. I don't know. We'll see what happens. But it was a brilliant topic, and I think it's extremely valid. You know, and it should make people. I know, obviously, we didn't give a lot of exact directions on what people should do, but this isn't probably what it was about. You know what I mean?
Buy the ebook.
Yeah, buy the ebook. We're going to make one in 29 only for viewers, and get on Matt's Jay Cutler thing and ruin his lives.
Yeah, no. Oh, the last one he did was Wednesday night at like 1 in the morning on American time. I was like, fuck me, Jay.
You are the biggest fan of Jay. Were you on it?
No, I was like, I'm not going to do that.
I was like, he's the biggest Jay Cutler fan of the world, mate.
I know, yeah. Well, he's the fucking king.
Well, he is, mate. And like I said, you know, although Ronnie's the best bodybuilder to ever walk the earth, Jay, in my opinion, is even better because he's living life now. He's healthy. He's the richest out of them all. And he got beat 8 times in a fucking row. And it didn't stop him, you know what I mean? That's cool, man.
And he's ramped his training up. He's doing a bit of a, not a comeback, he's not like that, but doing like a transform with Jay, so in the next 8 weeks. So he's just sort of put his food up and he's just training a bit harder, so it'll be fun to see what he looks like.
I want to know what fucking group you're in here, mate, because I never see any of this stuff. You know what Jay Cutler's doing. I didn't know he's doing that. Sounds like you're in like a small little community of Jay Cutler fans and you're all just together.
One of the kids at my gym, he's in the club, but he followed him and I was like, this is fucking shit. And they talk all the time. He sends me screenshots saying, oh, Jay says the art on the wall's cool. I'm like, did he? Right. Did he now?
You've got to be intimidated, Matt. That's possibly the only thing you can take away from it, mate. You had a post.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that guy from the UK tour. He's a cock.
Yeah, could be a pose down, Jay, and he's probably thinking, you bastard, if I was 10 years younger, I'd fucking fuck you up. You know what I mean? He's probably thinking, I lost it.
He still fucked me up.
Yeah. Come see me in 2004, Matt.